Oh, no intro. Okay. I was all walking around. Greetings. Welcome to Cotton Y7. I think I need a new prescription for my eyeballs. Four eyes is kind. Mm-hmm. Vision different in late night, early, late, whatever time it is. By the title, I have we got the new war and its effects on our finances, on us and the finances. Being that today is Monday, um, at least in America, it's Monday, March 2nd. I'm gonna do a little recap of there's some information going on right now, of course. Since the war, we have the U.S. and Israel that attacked Iran. I did that Saturday morning. Shout out to us that were up at like 4 a.m. I think it was Saturday Eastern time, and it was like within just past an hour of it. So we got a lot of information first. Then there was lies about Atola being deceased or not. Let me find out he is gone. I want to show something. There was what channels? BBC News. These two news reporters almost kind of clash. She asked him a question, and it's the way he answered it. He wasn't feeling it. I mean, and then they kind of had a little back and forth. But tensions are starting to go. You know, people are taking different sides on this whole thing. I'm gonna go ahead and go over to that. Oh, and get into the stocks, because the big thing is today is Monday, so the stocks are closed on the weekends. They're open 9 to 4 or 5, Monday through Friday only. And I remember one day during the week, the time frame is different too. But anyway, I'm gonna get into the stocks now. That doesn't open for a while, but I may be able to.
Iran-backed militia group Hezbollah in Lebanon. Well, this comes after the militia group fired missiles at Israel to avenge the killing of Iran's supreme leader. In a statement, the IDF accused the militant group of acting on behalf of Iran and targeting Israeli civilians. It said it would act against the group's decision to join the campaign. Israeli forces have issued evacuation orders for more than 50 towns and villages across Lebanon. Lines of traffic have formed in Beirut as people have been attempting to leave the city since the early hours of this morning. Well, the US-Israeli war with Iran enters its third day, with all sides launching large-scale airstrikes. There have been reports of blasts in other parts of the Middle East, with smoke seen rising from the US embassy in Kuwait. Explosions have also been heard in Abu Dhabi and earlier on Monday in Bahrain, Doha and Dubai. You're with BBC News. Just want to bring you some live pictures of Jerusalem. There have been a series of blasts heard over Jerusalem. We will bring you more on that when we get more details. Now, the Israeli President Isaac Herzog has spoken this morning to the BBC's Anna Foster on the Today programme about the strikes carried out by Israel and the US against.
And what I'm keen to establish here is what level of destruction in Iran you are trying to reach. There are questions about the legality of this war. We were talking to Sir Geoffrey Nice earlier in the programme, and he was saying that under international law, you can only attack preemptively if you fear an immediate use of force by the other side, which we haven't seen the evidence for that.
We are not attacking, not us, nor the Americans, anything civilian. We are attacking places where there are launchers of huge missiles.
But there have been civilian deaths.
Who have created havoc and death and destruction also in Israel and the entire region. Of course, there are attacks on the command and control centers of the Iranian army and Basij. By the way, these attacks, let's not forget, just a few weeks ago, the Iranian regime mowed about 32 to 50,000 of those citizens, just like that, all of a sudden, just killed anybody who went to the street.
But we do need to acknowledge the civilian deaths so far. Now, I don't want us to move too far away from the point here.
Yeah, but we should not, Anna, we should not be naive.
I
dealing
don't think
with.
we're being naive by
Well,
asking what
you
evidence
quoted
there.
an expert on international law explaining why things cannot be.
Greetings, Sabati. Welcome to Kai Y7. What I'm doing is showing some information on how the war will affect. I put our pockets because it has to do with stocks. A lot of things to do with crude oil. We don't know the exact effects of it until around 9 a.m. So once the stock market's open, what I'm doing now is just showing something from BBC. It just aired shortly ago. The reporter and who she's interviewing kind of have a clash. So yeah, that going on, and then I just want to zoom in more on the economic side of the war and some other things too. Consider to subscribe, hit like. Sometimes it's an open chat room. Open-minded people and respectful is appreciated. If not, it's not for you.
Done. It's
I
like
asked you
waiting
if you
again and
had
again for another attack
evidence
by the
of an
Iranians.
immediate use of force against Israel by Iran. Do you have that evidence? I asked if you
Of
had
course.
evidence of an immediate use of force
Well, of course,
by
they
Iran
carried out.
against Israel.
I'll explain to you. If they carried out 20 attacks in Britain or perpetrated 20 attacks in Britain, you think they didn't attack Israel? They've tried to attack Israel from all corners of the earth in the
But
last
do
2
you
years,
have
from 8
evidence of an
corners of the
immediate
earth.
use of force?
But that's not the. But that's not the reason in.
Shout out to the new subscriber. Thank you. I couldn't really see it. Looked like it said, is this Deborah White or D? I'm sorry, I couldn't really see it. Or D. I should just say, thank you. I'll try to find it. All right. Y'all up early and late. Shout out to y'all. Some information comes in the wee hours, so we tend to we've been catching it here on my channel. All right, thanks. I appreciate it.
International law. In
It is.
international law, you use self-defense when you know that your enemy is perpetrating and planning movement towards a bomb that wants to annihilate you, because they say this bomb is in order to annihilate.
And
We need
President
to
Herzog,
remove
the law
Israel off
says
the
that
map.
has to be
We need to
immediate.
remove
And
Israel
you're
from the
not
face of the Middle
addressing
East.
that point.
Of course I'm addressing it, because we have huge amount of proof, which we are sharing, of course, with our British allies and every other ally. The fact that your base in Akrotiri in Cyprus was attacked for the first time by missiles from Iran, what does it mean? They think you're a friend or a foe? If you're a foe, then everybody should get together and fight these evil forces and break this empire of evil once and for all, and bring different hope for the region and for the Middle East and for the future of the world. That's exactly what we're doing.
President of Israel Isaac Herzog speaking there. Let's bring in now Reid Brody, former international war crimes prosecutor, also a member of the International Commission of Jurists. Good to have you with us on BBC News.
Thank you.
You heard there from Mr. Herzog. I think all sides will claim that they're acting within international law. How do you cut through that, Mr. Brody, and assess what's actually happening here?
Sure. Well, whatever you think of the dictatorship in Iran, these strikes are a clear violation of the foundational principle of the post-war legal order, which is the non-use of force. In the wake of World War II, the United States in particular helped design and champion a global system that prohibits states from attacking other states, except in two very limited circumstances. And you mentioned one of them, self-defense in face of an actual or imminent armed attack, or Security Council authorization, which nobody sought. Now, there was no such imminent attack here. It's one thing to say that Iran has designs on destruction of Israel, but that has been for decades. There is nothing here that suggested that there was anything imminent. President Trump said last year, when he destroyed that he had obliterated Iran's nuclear capabilities. So without a genuinely imminent armed attack, there is no right to carry out these strikes. And what they have done is a preventive war, and a preventive war is illegal under international law, full stop.
Does Iran's use of proxies
complicate the question of legal responsibility? I mean, can you hold a state accountable for the action of groups it supports?
Yes, you certainly can, if that is proven. But we are not in that kind of situation here, where attacks have been. First of all, no attacks have been committed against the United States. Certainly, there have been attacks by proxies on Israel, but that does not justify this kind of massive attack on Iran. I mean, the United Nations Charter exists precisely to prevent powerful states from deciding unilaterally that another country's government must go. The United States, even in the war in Iraq, which was the United States tried to engage the Security Council. I mean, President Trump here has presumptively committed the international crime of aggression, just as he did in Venezuela last month, and just as Vladimir Putin did in Ukraine.
But, Mr. Brody, people following our coverage, they will be thinking, well, who has a responsibility to investigate these violations, and is there any realistic mechanism to do that?
The violations of, you mean the aggression?
Yes. I mean, you're talking about alleged violations that could have happened, but people be wondering, is anyone ever held responsible for that?
Well, it's very interesting. The Council of Europe has recently created an ad hoc tribunal on the crime of aggression against Ukraine to investigate and potentially punish the Russian leaders who committed the crime of aggression against Ukraine. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to see something like that here. I mean, it's very interesting. Normally, the International Criminal Court has jurisdiction over the crime of aggression, but the United States, France, Britain made the rules of the ICC so limited that it can only exercise jurisdiction against aggression by states who have agreed to that jurisdiction. And obviously, the United States has not agreed to that jurisdiction.
It's really good to get your thoughts. Appreciate it. That is our guest there, Reid Brody, giving us his insights on any alleged war crimes that might have taken place. Now, I just want to give you some breaking news that has come in. There are sirens going off at the RAF Akrotiri British base. That's in Cyprus. We'll keep across that as we get more information. Now, earlier today, the UK Foreign Secretary spoke to Radio 4's Today programme. She was asked by Nick Robinson about the decision to allow the US to use British bases to strike Iranian missile sites.
These are US attacks on Iran launched from here. I promise you I don't mean this facetiously. I'm trying to get to the bottom of the difference between offensive and defensive. There may be people listening here, there certainly would be if they could listen to us in Iran, saying that if an American bomb lands and it was launched from British soil originally, they're not going to say, oh, well, that's fine, it was defensive.
So the agreement that we have made does not cover things like political targets or economic targets, those wider infrastructure or broader objectives. It is specifically about.
All right. I did put a poll question in the chat. Do you feel that the U.S.-Israel war against Iran is worth the debt? We're going to see in a few hours the stock and see how it affects the stock market. A lot of people are wanting to know that part. We know it's going to have a big effect on the crude oil, but what about other things that have to do with stocks that are surrounding not just the war, but people just becoming nervous economically because of what's going on? I'm going to switch over right now to WION. WION News is saying that Iran just launched a fresh strikes on Israel.
airlines have abandoned or have basically stalled their flights given the tensions over the West Asian region. But as things are gradually coming back, let me quickly bring you the latest developments taking place in the moment during the Iran war, which continues. Iran's Revolutionary Guards have said that they launched missile strikes on Israel's government in Tel Aviv, as well as security and military centers in Haifa, and an attack on East Jerusalem. Loud explosions have been heard across Gulf cities. Loud blasts have been heard in Abu Dhabi, Doha, Dubai, Manama and Kuwait City. Cyprus president has confirmed an Iranian drone which crashed into a British base on the Mediterranean island, causing minor material damage. The statement comes after British Defence Ministry said that its forces were responding to a suspected drone strike at RAF Akrotiri, which is one of the two British bases in Cyprus, along with Hekilia. At least 31 people have been confirmed dead, 149 injured in Beirut, as a senior Israel general says that the military would intensify its attacks on Lebanon. Mind you, it was Hezbollah based in Lebanon which started firing rockets towards Israel, northern Israel, and Israel has now retaliated very, very strongly. And this is after Israel launched strikes in response to the fire claimed by Iran-backed group Hezbollah. Iran's security chief Ali Larijani has cleared that the country will not negotiate with the US. In a post on social media, Larijani denied media reports that Iranian officials had sought to initiate the talks with the Trump administration following a wave of US-Israeli strikes on Iran over the weekend. US President Donald Trump has said that he has shortlisted 3 names to lead Iran after he launched a war to topple Tehran's ruling clerics. Trump told the New York Times that he won't reveal the names right now, but first get the job done. Trump has vowed to avenge the death of US servicemen in the war against Iran. Trump said the combat operation in Iran that began on Saturday will continue until all objectives are achieved. He said he's preparing for around 4 weeks of conflict and warned that there could be more casualties. China has called for a ceasefire and diplomatic talks to end the conflict in West Asia, as Beijing confirms 1 Chinese citizen killed in Israeli-US strikes in Tehran.
سلام خوبی امیر
So what they were just showing is they said there were just some fresh attacks. I was trying to make sure that was new. It just came out that there were some fresh attacks in the area, Israel. So there's still a lot of back and forth going on. BBC has been doing really good, so I've been back and forth with BBC, NBC.
Question. I mean, there is an influence here in the sense that the US wants to use the UK bases. So clearly some of those bases are strategically useful to the US. And so the UK has made a choice to allow them to use them for those specific purposes. I mean, more generally, if the UK wanted to, and there are no signs of this, the UK could use some of its own military capabilities, some of its own missiles, some of its own forces. That does not seem to me at this stage likely, though, of course, let's...
Yeah, someone mentioned they hit like, thanks for hitting like. People come in, and then sometimes a lot of people come in and we just have good conversation, everything too. But for some reason, people act like it's a big deal to hit the like button sometimes. I don't know what the problem is. You know what I mean? So I do my thing on here. I'm going to do it regardless. Come on from time to time. I was deciding on coming on this Monday morning, but I said, go ahead, because this is when we're going to find out the stocks. And that's what's really important. And it's not just if you are invested in the stocks, your tax money still has an effect on all of this too. Our economy, whether you're in America or certain other surrounding countries too. You know, the war is not just, oh, look at the US. This is going to have a huge ripple effect, y'all. They are already deciding on shutting down the area of what do they call it, where they have the crude oil coming in. And I'll show a recap on that too, so you can see that if they shut that off, it's going to be a major halt in our
which certainly some people on the left of the political spectrum, including within the Labour Party here, would argue that the UK could have an influence, which is by criticising what the US has done. There are certainly some in Keir Starmer's party. We heard it from John McDonnell, the former Shadow Chancellor, this morning, very much on the left of the party. And I think we'll hear similar from the Green Party and perhaps even from the Liberal Democrats, who would say, well, the UK can have an influence by saying no to the US, by condemning them. On the other side of the spectrum, you have the Conservatives and Reform UK, I think, urging the UK to go further and deploy some of its own forces. So I do think it is going to be quite interesting, even if it sounds a bit parochial and probably is in the broader context. It is going to be quite interesting to see how the politics and the debate here in the UK develops.
I just want to bring you some details about Britain's RAF Akrotiri base that's in Cyprus. Sirens did go off at that base shortly after midday. This was hours after it was hit by an unmanned drone. The sirens reportedly going off at the base. The aircraft was taking off from the facility at the time. So just to bring you that detail. But it's worth repeating that the Ministry of Defence assesses that the drone which hit the Akrotiri base in Cyprus was likely launched before the Prime Minister's statement last night, which Henry was talking about there, which is allowing the US to use UK military bases. Let's just show you some pictures that have come into us after authorities in Kuwait say several US warplanes have crashed near the country's border with Iraq. Now, this footage has been shared on social media. It appears to show a fighter jet crashing to the ground. BBC Verify has confirmed the location of this video, said to show an F-15 crashing near Kuwait City. It's filmed from the west of Kuwait City on the edge of the Al.
All right, appreciate you coming through. Excuse me, I'm Kai of Kai NY7. Whew. Usually do things to do with the community, Astros, spirituality, and intimacy. But we are talking about this war, this big war going on, and its effects on our economies. I'm going to go to, I really want to find, I was reading and watching videos on this yesterday, but let's go here. There was an oil tanker that was attacked, and they're calling it the Strait. So if they shut down the Strait, that's going to have the biggest effect on the crude oil. So hold on 1 second, and I'll show you. This is what's like one of the big, yeah, take it out. Big deal is right now.
In the Strait of Hormuz, injuring 4 crew. All 20 people on board were evacuated.
Besides the fact people getting hurt and killed, I get that, but that's part of war. But this is how this is going to affect pockets. Yours too.
Security Center says an oil tanker has been attacked in the Strait of Hormuz, injuring 4 crew. All 20 people on board were evacuated. Meanwhile, in another incident reported north of the capital, Muscat, an unknown projectile is said to have struck a vessel. There have also been Iranian drone strikes on Oman, which had been mediating indirect talks between Tehran and Washington. 2 drones hit Oman's commercial port of Doham. One of them struck a mobile home for workers, injuring 1 person. And Qatar's foreign ministry has condemned the attack on Oman, saying in a statement, the state of Qatar expresses its strong condemnation of the Iranian attacks that targeted the commercial Doham port in the sisterly Sultanate of Oman and an oil tanker off its coast, considering them a violation of the Sultanate's sovereignty, an unacceptable escalation and a cowardly targeting of a country playing an active role in mediation efforts. So, Zain, Qatar denouncing the attack very strongly there. What can we expect going forward in the region?
Well, the GCC countries are certainly closing ranks. The foreign ministers of those countries had a video conference call today as well to discuss de-escalation, to discuss how to bring stability back, and crucially to discuss the very important commercial and transport waterways, not just the Strait of Hormuz, but in the Arabian Sea and in the Gulf. Now, Iran has said in the past that if it is attacked, it will choke the Strait of Hormuz. That is what we are seeing and beginning to do now. It has also said that despite the fact that these countries in the GCC, that its neighboring countries are its close neighbors, are its partners in the region, what it continues to say is that as long as you host the United States assets, military bases, cooperate militarily with the United States, that they will consider those assets, those bases, those locations as sovereign U.S. targets that are fair game if Iran is attacked. And that is what we've been seeing. Oman was spared the beginning of this retaliation by Iran on day one yesterday. But Oman has in the past cooperated with the United States. It does have cooperation agreements for the U.S. military to use its bases and airports and airstrips. So what we are seeing now is that Iran is beginning to target Oman as well. It was the only country in the GCC yesterday that hadn't been struck on day one of Iran's retaliation after it was attacked. But we are seeing Oman being brought into the fray now as well.
Zain, thank you very much indeed. That's Zain Basrawi talking to us there from Doha.
So, yeah, that's where they're going towards. Like I said, Saturday, a lot of this is about oil. Yeah, regime change, but it is really about what you what narrative you're running with. Let's just get to it. The big thing is the effects on our pockets. I want to show. What I want to try to do is find a map. They had a map and they were showing how the normal traffic looks and how it looks now. And it's a huge contrast. So, yeah, thanks again to, who was that, PT? Thanks. Okay. And how are y'all doing? I hope everybody is doing good, aside from, I know it's a lot going on with foreign affairs and whatnot. I'm going to go back to that while I look for the map. Go back to BBC. Okay.
AI video detection tools. Now, airlines are continuing to cancel and divert flights in the Middle East. Flights in and out of airports in Tel Aviv, Dubai, Doha and other international hubs in the region have been suspended. The UK Foreign Office is warning British citizens against all but essential travel to Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar and the United Arab Emirates. Those already there have been advised to shelter. British government officials are understood to be formulating plans to potentially evacuate UK nationals from the Middle East. But the timings of such a move are really unclear as much of the airspace in the region remains closed. Mark Ashdown reports.
Chaos at Dubai's international airport, damaged in an Iranian strike which left 4 staff injured. It remains closed, with thousands of flights to and from the wider region also grounded. After an explosion at the Fairmont Palm Hotel, holidaymakers across the luxurious Jumeirah Bay had to take shelter. Among them, Trevor Davies and his wife on the trip of a lifetime for her 60th birthday.
We heard a number of explosions and we could see and hear missiles going overhead and they were being shot down. Some of the debris was literally falling around, well, not on us, but it fell into the fountain, into the hotel. And so it was pretty scary.
All day long, the sky has been alight with explosions. This footage posted on social media seems to show an Iranian drone hitting a residential block. A man with a British accent posted this.
No joking, guys. We have just been hit by a drone. We heard it coming. It stinks of oil in here. I didn't even finish my cup of tea.
The United Arab Emirates said its military has so far dealt with 165 ballistic missiles, 2 cruise missiles and 541 drones. The UK Foreign Office is advising against travelling to a dozen countries across the region.
If you've booked directly with the airline and your flight's been cancelled, then check with them about your rebooking options and, if need be, a refund. If you booked accommodation separately, then check, and you haven't been able to use it, then check with your insurance company, see if they'll cover it. If you booked a package holiday, check with the tour operator. If your holiday's been cancelled, they'll allow you to rebook, even potentially to a different destination, or if not, give you a full refund. And if you are overseas at the moment, it's incredibly important that you register with the Foreign Office. They have that. You can do that online. It's called Register Your Presence, so they know where you are.
Dubai has grown in recent years to become the 3rd most visited city in the world, attracting celebrities and influencers, some posting updates as these attacks unfolded.
We came to Dubai to feel safe.
Tourism has ground to a halt, fears too about the oil industry, with tankers coming under attack in the nearby Strait of Hormuz. If that dries up too, the effects of this conflict will spread far beyond these shores. Mark Ashdown, BBC News.
Paul Charles is founder and CEO of the PC agency that specialises in travel. He's been speaking to my colleague Sally Bundock about the ramifications the cancellations are having.
Yes, it's not just in the Middle East that we're seeing the impact of this directly, but also around the world, of course, for those travellers who are on airlines such as Qatar Airways or Emirates trying to get to the Middle East. Indeed, at Sao Paulo Airport yesterday, I saw 2 Qatar Airways planes still on the ground there because they can't fly to the Middle East at the moment due to airspace closures, and queues of people who obviously are looking for alternatives. And that's the impact it's having on the global aviation chain at the moment. Flights are entirely full via other countries because the passengers who were due to go to the Middle East have to reroute via somewhere else in order to find safe haven.
And this could take some time, couldn't it? I mean, obviously, Dubai International Airport is still closed at the moment, as are other key airports. I mean, that's the busiest in the world, isn't it, that airport?
Yes, Dubai carried some 97 million passengers last year, and so do Doha and Abu Dhabi in terms of increasing the number of passengers. Nearly 4,000 flights were cancelled yesterday into the Middle East. That equates to something like 2 million passengers. So if you look at the impact, some 2 million people who were due to fly into the region and around the region who are not doing that, that is a sizable impact, not just on the Middle East as a whole, but also on global aviation in terms of lost passengers, crews out of place, aircraft out of place, cargo that is not in the belly of the aircraft, that's not going into the Middle East or out of the Middle East. So you can see the implications there.
I've been speaking to Nick Marsh in our Asia Business Hub about how global markets are reacting.
Yeah, so markets out here in Asia all closed down, as you say. Indexes in Tokyo, Hong Kong, South Korea, all down about 1%, 1.5%. The FTSE's just opened in London. That has followed suit, and it's very likely that the markets, when they do open on Wall Street in the United States, will also follow suit and have some losses. To a certain extent, that's pretty much what you expect when there's a war, when there's conflict. In times of uncertainty, investors tend to sell. But at the same time, the fact that we haven't seen massive plunges in stock exchanges just quite yet shows that this conflict wasn't completely out of the realms of possibility, was it? To an extent, investors had kind of been planning for something like this. And they've also been grappling, don't forget, with plenty of geopolitical uncertainty all of this year and for the past couple of years.
The Strait of Hormuz I mentioned there, we know it's a critical shipping lane. There is a risk of disruption there, isn't there? That is an economic weapon that Iran has. Can you give us a sense for people that might not know what that would mean for global energy supply?
Yeah, so, I mean, stocks are one thing, but I think much more important is oil prices and the supply of oil. So through the Strait of Hormuz, basically you've got this very narrow passageway where all of the really big Middle Eastern oil producers, so Qatar, you've got the other Gulf states like United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia, of course. It has to go through there in order to get to the rest of the world. The vast majority of those customers are out here in Asia, so countries like Japan, South Korea, and particularly China. Now, if the supply of oil is restricted, and at the moment traffic has come to basically a complete standstill, there's no formal embargo, but Iran keeps threatening attacks on vessels. There's been some reports of a couple of attacks already. Shipping companies are just saying it's not worth our while. We're not taking the risk. There's missiles flying overhead. So no cargo, no oil tankers in particular are going.
All right, greetings again. I'm Kai and Y7. Thanks for coming through. If you are here, it's like over 100 of y'all. Y'all can feel free and not be afraid to hit the like button. And it is an open chat room. A lot of people are getting ready to start their day. We're about to go cheat. I'm going to head into Bloomberg Business because I know they're going to be talking about the impact of the war and has to do with our finances, and particularly with stocks and other things that would affect our economy. I got to get something to drink. In my throat.
Attention to historical studies that suggest always buy stocks on bad geopolitical news. And I think that that's apt right now because I can't tell you how many notes I've gotten in my inbox, John, saying that when conflicts happen, you buy the dip because they're short-lived. But those are emphasizing, to Lori's point, short conflicts. What happens when it's an all-out war that lasts a long period of time? And what happens when it's a market that's conditioned to buy the dip, when it's conditioned that geopolitical risks are short-lived and you can buy it? Maybe we're not as well positioned or hedged for it in that case.
We've got a lot to cover this morning. Happy to say that Danny's going to be alongside us. Equity futures this morning on the S&P 500 negative by 1%. Coming up this hour, we'll catch up with Norman Rule of CSIS as the Middle East erupts into conflict. Bob McNally of Rapid and Energy Advisors with oil jumping the most in some 4 years. And Laurie Calvasino of RBC on navigating the risk in the equity market. We begin this hour with our top story. The President saying combat operations will continue until all objectives are achieved.
We cannot allow a nation that raises terrorist armies to possess such weapons, would allow them to extort the world to their evil will. Not going to let it happen.
Joining us now for team coverage, Bloomberg's Jemana Basechi in Dubai, Tyler Kendall in Washington. Jemana, welcome to the programme and thanks for making some time for us this morning, particularly after the events over the weekend. Are we on the path to further escalation, a path to a prolonged interaction between the US, Israel and maybe a whole host of others as well with Iran?
Well, let me reframe your question, John, which is there seems to be no off-ramp in sight and no signs of de-escalation. And everything that we've heard from President Trump over the last 24 hours suggests that they are going to continue with the military campaign until those, quote, objectives are achieved. The Israeli Prime Minister also saying something similar last night and saying that if anything, the operations are going to intensify in coming days. CENTCOM announcing over the weekend that they've struck over 1,000 targets within Iran. And obviously the main event being the taking out of the Supreme Leader alongside his advisor, key commanders within the Revolutionary Guard, but then key military infrastructure was also targeted as well alongside the Navy headquarters, which is something President Trump referred to. Now, on the back of that, there was perhaps an expectation that Iran would somehow be willing or more willing to come to the table, perhaps open up another door for negotiations or even yield to some of those concessions that the U.S. have been pushing for. That does not appear to be the case on two counts. First of all, we heard from Ali Larijani. This is a very influential figure within the Islamic Republic. This morning, he is the chief of the National Supreme Council, a key decision-making body when it comes to military and nuclear decisions. He was saying that they will not enter into negotiations with the U.S. And at the same time, the Iranian response has come very, very swiftly, targeting and also expanding this conflict to include, as Danny was just saying earlier, 11 countries now, with many of these Gulf states, and very shocking to see the development actually within these Gulf states, even in Dubai, where I'm situated, blast, explosion, missiles, drones being directed towards these Gulf nations. Most of those missiles and drones have been intercepted, but the ones that haven't have caused damage, and we are seeing also infrastructure damage. Some buildings have got hit too. You would have seen those images over the course of the weekend. The airports are shut down. The airspace is closed. There are over 300,000 passengers who are stranded in the region right now. And the response also from these Gulf states has been pretty condemning. They haven't really minced their words when it comes to the condemnation of Iran and saying that they do have the right to self-defense. And so the feeling is that Iran potentially has crossed the line, not just with their response to the U.S. and to Israel, but also with the Gulf states as well.
Tyler Kendall, this is different for the president. This is not in his traditional playbook. Traditionally, we'd be talking about something limited, fast, with clear objectives that leads to a period of de-escalation. This feels very, very open-ended. How new is this for President Trump?
Right, exactly, John. I mean, particularly when you hear President Trump in an interview saying that the U.S. would be willing to sustain this campaign for 4 to 5 weeks if necessary to reach his objectives. The thing is, the president has offered various and at times contradictory goals for the military campaign. I can say that a group of senior administration officials briefed us reporters by phone over the weekend and said that this military campaign was started in large part over disappointing progress last week when it came to the nuclear talks with Iran.
All right, real quick. I'm going to check. It looks like it's saying it's Justin. Trump said that the war may be going on, may last for about 5 weeks. This is my first time seeing that. We're going to go right to that in a second. China condemns the U.S. Israel strikes on Iran, of course. Calls assassination unacceptable. I want to see what we got for China, and then I'll go right to the ABC has what Trump. My bad. I like how people come in and they just leave and they don't say nothing. You can't even hear nothing. Yeah, something else. Yes, please go to another channel. Couldn't care less. You don't support my channel. Usually I get disrespectful with y'all being disrespectful with the likes. I said I ain't not gonna do it though. That is so corny. Shoot, it ain't just about the numbers, it's engagement and other things. Never pay you enough, so it ain't about getting paid.
So going back to negotiations. And in this regards, I want to ask China, as a major global power with a veto power in the UN Security Council and a strategic partner of Iran, beyond verbal condemnation, how can China play a role in preventing the US from carrying out what Wang rightly called in unilateral actions, such as assassinating leaders of sovereign countries? And also regarding to the negotiations, Wang urged two parties to return to the negotiation table. But that negotiation table wasn't the very platform that US imperialism paves the way to attack us. And they used the platform to prepare and to buy time to actually, for them and for the Israelis to attack Iran. Thank you so much.
中方对当前局势深表关切，坚决反对在国际关系中使用武力，侵犯别国主权安全。当务之急是立即停止军事行动，防止战火蔓延和外溢。中方愿同国际社会共同努力，积极劝和阻战，推动通过对话谈判解决问题，维护中东和世界的和平稳定。下一个问题。
Question for
attack on Iran that killed Iran's supreme leader.
Yeah, we've seen airstrikes across the Middle East overnight, from Lebanon to Kuwait. 3 Americans have lost their lives. A new video overnight shows a U.S. fighter jet crashing in Kuwait, one of several American warplanes that have reportedly crashed in that country. Local officials say all crew members there were able to survive. It was not immediately clear what led to those crashes. President Trump spoke to ABC News overnight about how long this military operation could last, but he has not yet publicly answered questions about these attacks.
And the region is now engulfed in this conflict with attacks across the Persian Gulf states, including Qatar, where ABC's Marcus Moore begins our coverage this morning. Marcus, what is it like there right now on the ground?
Well, Faith and Hannah, good to be with you this morning. There's just so much happening here in the region. Here in Qatar, we got the new emergency alerts that went out to cell phones this morning. And we've heard more loud booms here in Doha, likely those air defense interceptors intercepting projectiles. Meanwhile, overnight, President Trump indicated just how long the attacks on Iran could last. Overnight, President Trump giving new insight into the military action in Iran, telling ABC News the U.S. attacks could last 4 or 5 more weeks. His statement coming just hours after the announcement that 3 American service members were killed during an Iranian attack in Kuwait.
We grieve for the true American patriots who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation, and sadly, there will likely be more. Before it ends, that's the way it is. Likely be more.
The U.S. and Israel striking more than 2,000 targets inside Iran Sunday, the second day of airstrikes. Central Command releasing new video showing the U.S. destroying what appear to be Iranian fighter jets, drones, and ballistic missile launchers, among other military targets.
The entire military command is gone as well, and many of them want to surrender into saving their lives.
Israel claims roughly half of Iran's ballistic missile launchers have now been destroyed. But Iran is responding. At least 9 people were killed when an Iranian missile hit this Israeli shelter in a synagogue. And at least 5 others were killed across the Persian Gulf states as Iran deployed missiles and drones at military and civilian targets. A drone blasting this residential building in Bahrain. Video from the building shows the moment of impact. In Dubai, this luxury hotel going up in flames. And in Qatar, people running for their lives. You can see the air defense interceptors going into the air in those bright flashes of orange. And you can also hear the loud booms. This is what we've been hearing in Doha all day today. In Kuwait, those 3 American service members who were killed were reportedly part of a unit overseeing supplies and logistics. 5 others were injured. And inside Iran, the death toll is rising, with more than 1,000 people reportedly killed since the U.S. and Israeli attacks began Saturday. State media claims an airstrike on this girls' school left more than 153 people dead, including students. The U.S.
See, I'm going to pause right there. The U.S. still hasn't received any verifying confirmation that any children were killed. We still have yet to have any confirmation that any students were hit, that the school was hit at all. So at least from the media, they're saying we have no proof of that. So of course, hopefully that's not true. We don't really know. There wasn't any proof. Just like you think about it, they said their leader was safe and sound. All their political leaders were safe and sound. You remember they came on and said that? I got to pull some of that video footage up too. When he was long gone and dead. So during this war, what the problem is with war in these days and with social media, there are lies. And then it's like, there's so many lies that we're being told that we want proof. And we have every right to demand proof of things so that we know. We want to know what these casualties are. The more people lie, the more we as the people, I feel, are going to start demanding proof and evidence of everything, because so many things have been a lie. It's disgusting. You know what I mean? So I just want to say that I hope those girls didn't get hit. They're saying they did, but again, they said they haven't shown any proof at all. Also, some of the, an Iranian leader said that some of the U.S. troops came and killed U.S. People from the U.S. to make it seem like it was Iran that did it, to really hype up the war. We haven't seen any proof of that either. I mean, I don't know. It just sounds very disgusting. And of course, we're going to have different narratives, but it sucks when your own people are lying and giving their own narratives too. So during war, not only is there chaos and casualties, it affects our economy, and it's going to affect you mentally, because you just get tired of the lies and you want to know what the heck is going on and just be honest about it.
The U.S. is investigating, insisting it would never deliberately attack civilians. Iranians taking to the streets, some celebrating. Others mourning the death of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei.
And I
He
get
was
it, there's a
killed in a
video.
strike
Keep
Saturday.
in mind,
The
we didn't
CIA
see
had been tracking the 86-year-old for
anything
months.
medical at all.
Sources say agents learned about a meeting of top leaders with the Ayatollah planned for Saturday, prompting the U.S. and Israel to strike. President Trump over the weekend justifying the attack.
They've rejected every opportunity to renounce their nuclear ambitions. Instead, they attempted to rebuild their nuclear program and to continue developing long-range missiles.
But some experts question whether Iran posed an imminent threat, saying the country was far from acquiring the resources needed to build a nuclear weapon, especially after the strikes on nuclear facilities back in June. President Trump acknowledged the new strikes are to some degree preemptive.
We're undertaking this massive operation not merely to ensure security for our own time and place, but for our children and their children, just as our ancestors have done for us many, many years ago. This is the duty and the burden of a free people. We're doing this not for now, we're doing this for the future, and it is a noble mission.
And President Trump says the new potential leaders of Iran have indicated that they want to talk. And we saw the Interim Leadership Council meeting this weekend, but Trump did not elaborate on plans for any future U.S. negotiations. Hannah, Faith.
Marcus, quick question before you go. Many people here in the U.S. are wondering what kind of power Iran has to attack the U.S. What do we know about their capabilities?
Well, Hannah, Iran can launch attacks through its proxies like Hezbollah. They could target soft diplomatic and also civilian facilities in Europe or in the U.S. And the FBI has actually already placed intelligence teams on high alert. And we also know that patrols in big cities have been stepped up. But there's also one potential risk, and that's cyber attacks targeting the infrastructure in the U.S. Iran has already had some success in carrying out those types of attacks in the past. Hannah.
Marcus, thank you.
I haven't seen that reporter in a long time. Is it just me? I haven't seen him in a long time. I got to look up his name. She said Marcus. Marcus. Made me think of Boomerang with Eddie Murphy. Remember Cat? Oh my goodness. Catwoman, the original black woman that was Catwoman for Batman. Kid. Marcus. I'm gonna look him up. Marcus from ABC. I haven't seen him in a long time. It's just interesting seeing him. It's a war going on. He came back out of retirement, or is it just me and I'm late about it? I don't know. Marcus. Some people waking up on the wrong right side of the bed. Go back to bed. Go back to sleep for a little while, then get up. But please shower. Please. Please. Before you come in here trolling with your stinking asses. Shout out to the almost dozen people that hit like, but 50 to 100 of y'all just sitting here taking up space. Getting ready for your day, but take 1 second to hit the like. If you're interested or see other things on my channel, I'm sure that will interest you. Consider subscribing. There's an open chat room. It's just you're not going to be in here playing yourself too much or being extra disrespectful. That's stupid. And I hope that people don't feel disrespected by other people because y'all was going in when the war hit Saturday, and I thought about it. I don't want people to feel like I don't pay attention to. I pay attention to everything. I'm in the chat. I do my banners. If you notice, I show different clips that make sense to what we're talking about or what I'm trying to show. All those things. So, I'm not an octopus, but I do my best and I do it pretty good. So I do want to make sure though that people, to a certain level, you're going to be comfortable. You got to realize it's all public. A lot of people are just here to troll. Some people aren't, and those tend to be the quiet ones sometimes. The decent people like myself, we be extra quiet. But today marks Monday, so the stock market will open, and I'm curious to see how it's going to be looking. So we still have a few hours before that actually occurs. But in the meantime, I was checking back and forth with Bloomberg because they have live, commentary on the economics running around this Middle East, the war in Iran, and any other updates that come in that I think are worthy to share. I'll put on here.
domestic enrichment capacity, but also the fact that those other key agenda items were not put on the table, most notably Iran's ballistic missile program. And now a person familiar with the matter confirms to Bloomberg News that the CIA had been tracking and monitoring the Iran supreme leader at this point for months, and that the U.S. ultimately shifted the timeline of these attacks based off of those findings. Now, the president, of course, has called on the Iranian people to overtake the government, but also said in an interview with the New York Times, interestingly enough, that he would also be willing to work with those current Iranian generals if they were willing to cede to the U.S.'s demand. So there is a lot on the table here and a lot that we are going to continue to watch, as there are big questions about exactly how this administration is monitoring and measuring progress going forward. John, of course, important to note that the president did say that the U.S. grieves the lives of those 3 American service members who have been killed, but he also cautioned that there could be more casualties ahead.
Tana,
I want to say something real quick. I noticed someone made a comment in this in the chat. You sound like somebody that's not interested in investing. It's not just for rich people. Anyone can get in. You can have less than $100 and get in. My suggestion is to get in. There's no blueprint, but you got to be in it. You don't know unless you get in it. I made money off of it. I even bet it on stocks no one else did. It was GameStop. When it shot up out the roof, I was in it. I had stocks because I'd rather invest than not invest and wonder and assume. We can't do that. So as a suggestion to everyone, everyone should have stocks. How many, that's up to you. You want to spread your money around and you want to watch the stocks. And let's say some go down, you're not going to lose all of them. That hardly ever happens. When you're into stocks, you're going to be included in meetings. I was included in business meetings. I'm a part of all these big food companies, all this and that. They keep you in the know because your money is involved. You don't have to be a board director. You don't have to be an employee. What you are is an investor. And I'm telling you, once you invest, you're going to be so enlightened intellectually with what's going on around the world that it's worth it. Any way you look at it, it's worth it. I showed some in the past. I may get back into that where I'll go in and in real time show you how I maneuver around with certain stocks, things like that. But I'd rather put most of that on the members only. But I will bring stuff on here too because things should be on here and just open. You know what I'm saying? But for other reasons and other things that I have to put into it, I think that would be more suitable for the members only, which is available as of yesterday. Should be on there. So if you're interested, if you have any questions, I'm not saying I know everything, but I'm here to help. You know what I'm saying? So I back up what I'm saying. And it could be slow money, but it's still money coming in. And then some stocks you have are going to surprise you. Oh, they up by $100. That's an extra 100 per stock. That's an extra this per stock that I have. Between that and real estate, you can't go wrong. And you got to think about it. If only money making people are investors, then you're telling me you don't want to be a money maker? Money isn't everything, but it helps get you what you need at times, right? So why would you not jump in and become that? You don't have to be, don't think that at all. This is for everybody. It's conniving when they have secret information and they keep it from the public and they'll watch us lose money or mess up with this and gain that when they're basically like cheating in the background. So America has done a lot of things to avoid that from happening. So for the most part, it's unbiased trading.
End Iran's capacity to rebuild a nuclear enterprise, and the military operations that are being conducted now will achieve that, although Iran could make a decision to rebuild that at some point in the future, absent a political decision. To second, to end the missile threat at present, although Iran could rebuild that in the future unless there's a political change. And finally, to severely degrade Iran's regional adventurism in Quds Force. And we destroyed the IRGC headquarters and are conducting strikes against a Revolutionary Guard capacity. So again, the president is conducting military operations to achieve all of those goals. The challenge becomes he's got to now have an Iranian government that in order to survive and sustain the regime, they've got to say, we will agree to not rebuild that in order to survive, have a normal relationship with our neighbors and sanctions relief. That government has not yet agreed to do this. But again, I must say we're one day into a conflict. So this is these are still early days.
Norm, so let's go through what we know and what we've seen so far. I think a notable feature for many over the weekend were the counterstrikes across the Gulf. Do you see those strikes as maybe risking bringing others into this war or producing a different response, getting others in the Gulf to push back against the interactions they've seen so far?
The response was entirely expected. Iran's goals would have been as following. First, they're going to try to achieve as much losses in the United States to promote a political debate within the United States against the president. And second, they're going to want to punish or attack Gulf partners and other countries to cause them to turn to the president and say, end the conflict. Now, what we've seen is actually a diminished attack. Normally, you would have seen saturation strikes by the Iranians of missile, drone, and it hasn't been mentioned, cyber strikes as well. The fact that these have actually been on a fairly reduced scale shows the relative success of American strikes in limiting the number of launchers. Now, it's still been a terrible impact. We've had losses that are significant, but this is far less than Iran would have hoped to achieve. And I must also say that Iran has transformed its relationship with the Gulf. It's a terrible defeat for the Iranian diplomacy. They've literally turned their relationship with the Gulf 180 degrees from a détente to enemies, and this will last for a generation for the Iranians.
Noam, do you see a path to de-escalation in the coming days?
Yes, the Iranians, in essence, through this conflict, will have to be compelled to, through defeat, through a military defeat, to accept the president's terms. That's the path at this point. There is not a path through diplomatic negotiations at this point. There is not going to be a path through mediations. The Iranians are going to have to accept that they cannot, in order to survive, in order to stay alive, they're going to have to accept that they're going to have to come to terms. And again, we're about one day in, 2,000 strikes, and they've watched multiple colleagues be killed. The supreme leader, the heads of their military. The lifespan of an Iranian leader is not a very long one at present.
Norman Rule. Norm, appreciate your time. As always, sir, thank you. Norman Rule there of CSIS. If you're just joining the programme, welcome. No doubt you want to be tracking what's happening with crude, higher by more than 7% on Brent and WTI. Briefly in the 80s overnight in Asian trading. Brent crude this morning, 78.41. With an update on stories worldwide with your Bloomberg Brief, Nora Melinda joins us now for more. Hey, Nora.
Hey, a third day of attacks underway across the Middle East. President Donald Trump saying the bombing campaign against Iran will continue until U.S. objectives are achieved. The president also telling ABC his picks to lead Iran were killed in the initial attack. Brent jumping by as much as 13% to above $82 a barrel before pulling back. Oil markets are bracing for prolonged volatility as tanker traffic through the Strait of Hormuz stalls. About a fifth of the world's oil and liquefied natural gas typically flow through the strait every day. A number of U.S. fighter jets crashed in the Persian Gulf this morning as the war with Iran entered its third day. The Kuwaiti government says all crew members survived. U.S. officials reporting the jets were downed due to an apparent friendly fire incident. That's your Bloomberg Brief. John?
Nora, thank you. Thanks for the update. More from Nora later this hour. Up next on the programme, the soaring cost of crude.
This market going into this was priced for a high level of complacency. We've been talking about a security premium in energy prices now for over a year. I think this is it. This is going to be a structural repricing, and I would not fade this current spike.
That conversation up next. We'll catch up with Bob McNally of Rapid Energy Group, live from New York City this morning. Good morning.
I'm going back and forth with Bloomberg so we can just see the latest updates on any information based on finances, because we know that economically this war is it has a big effect on not just us in America, Iran, of course, Israel. We have other places too. A lot of people are going to be affected by it. But since yesterday evening, I was watching a map where it was showing the crude oil ships and how Iran's are staying docked. And it's starting to look like they want to close down the straits, and the strait is where a lot of our oil travels through. And if they do that, it's going to be a huge mess. So that's basically where we're at with it. And then once the stock market opens and we see some updates, I want to report on that. I most likely will be on for that time.
Evaluation. It's an evaluation that is based on the fact that Iran has a very big, ambitious nuclear program, that we do not have the accesses that we should have. At the same time, I said it last year, before the June 12-day war, we don't see a structured program to manufacture nuclear weapons. So that is the assessment of the agency. Then, of course, countries have either other information or political considerations, which are not for me to validate, as I said, or invalidate.
Jonathan?
Yes.
Hi, DG. Jonathan Tyrone, Bloomberg
Hello,
News.
Jonathan. Hello.
You met the Assistant Secretary of the U.S. On Friday. The U.S. administration has transmitted a letter to Congress that permits Saudi Arabia to have access to enrichment technology and also plans to establish a bilateral safeguards agreement between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia that potentially makes the IAEA safeguards program subsidiary. Can you give us a readout on how you see that proposal being floated by the Trump administration in Saudi Arabia?
Well, first of all, I think we need to be reminded that this is a bilateral agreement. So it's an agreement between the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the United States. The terms of that agreement is for them to decide. We always, as a rule, support and advise on having for any agreement the highest, best possible standards of safeguards and verification. And there are many ways to do that, as you know. Argentina and Brazil had its own way to do it. Other countries do it in different ways. So we will, and of course, when they come to that agreement, which is not the case so far, so there is a little bit of speculation as to what are the exact contents of that agreement. When that happens, what we expect, and we are sure that this will happen. I have been discussing with Secretary Wright, for example, in Washington and in other parts. They are going to be requesting the agency to verify that agreement. So I would say, from the perspective of the IAEA, we are in a listening mode. We advise, of course, because this process has been ongoing, and if you remember, it goes back to the Biden administration as well. It's been a process that has taken a long time, with different emphasis as time passes and the priorities of each government changes. So we will be ready to apply the verification measures that they
But
request.
just a quick follow-up.
Yes.
But just broadly, what does it say about safeguards that there's a force concentrated in the Middle East to wage war on one country over its nuclear fuel cycle program? At the same time, letters are being transmitted that would open up the fuel cycle to a neighboring country.
Well, a nuclear fuel cycle is a very legitimate thing to begin with. And for this
speaking there is Rafael Grossi, head of the International Agency for Atomic Energy, the UN's nuclear watchdog, speaking in Vienna after Iranian authorities said the Natanz nuclear site in Iran had been hit. We'll have more on that coming up.
What we hope is that the parties to the agreement.
Most important oil-producing region.
Shares in Asia fall sharply, and there's a sell-off in Europe too as investors brace themselves for the potential impact of a war in the Middle East. And travel in turmoil with flights grounded throughout.
All right, of course, the travel and all that's going crazy. So is the algorithm. It's nuts. How y'all doing today? I think I asked that in the beginning. I hope everybody's doing good. Regardless of what we're talking about, I do ask how y'all doing. The stream that I've been doing, is basically focusing mostly on the financial part. We don't know how much debt, but we know it's going to affect the stock market shortly. They'll be open up in less than a few hours, maybe 2.5 hours. That's going to set the tone for a lot of things. We're going to see our prices change. They already said in some areas in America, we have $2.58 a gallon, $2.58 a gallon of gas. They already were predicting it'll be a little over $3, $3.16 possibly a gallon per gallon of gas. Too bad you can't fill it up with farts. Ugh. A lot of people backed up. We could load up some engines with that. Put that as fuel. But okay, so what I was doing was showing Bloomberg and other updates as they come in. So not expecting a whole lot, but lately we've been catching stuff nice and early on my channel, so that's good too. Shout out to us. We was the first one Saturday as soon as the bombs dropped. We was in here at 4 a.m. Eastern time Saturday. So shout out to y'all that came through. Anyone who participates is appreciated. It's an open chat room. Yeah, I think that's about it. Let's get back to, let me go over to, there was something particularly I was looking at. Trump arrives at the Joint Base Andrews. Oh, okay. This is some overnight, early morning global news through Bloomberg. I'll share. Again, it's regardless to if you are an investor or not. What goes on, things like this with the war, it's going to have some kind of effect on everyone. So, y'all included. Not bad, I had it on mute.
Yes, this is Bloomberg.
World's most powerful investors don't ring a bell. They quietly reshape entire industries. This is the money shaping the world. The Dealmaker playbook, where power and billions of dollars change hands every day. From private equity and credit to venture capital and M&A, we bring you the inside scoop on the biggest deals and debates, plus exclusive conversations with finance's ultimate insiders. I'm Danny Berger, and this is Bloomberg Deals. Every week, only on Bloomberg Television.
Why do the biggest names in business choose Bloomberg Television?
That's a great question.
It's a very good question.
Interesting question. Good question. Great question. I so appreciate that question.
Aviation since COVID. Hello there. Welcome to Business Today. I'm Ty Enright. Global oil prices have risen sharply in response to the escalating conflict in the Middle East. Brent crude, which is the global benchmark for oil prices, jumped by some 10% to touch more than $82 a barrel on Monday before easing after at least 3 ships were attacked near the Strait of Hormuz over the weekend. Right now, the market price of Brent crude is just over $78 per barrel, although it's not closed the Strait of Hormuz yet. Iran has warned vessels not to pass through it. It is a crucial waterway to the south of the country, through which around 20% of the world's oil and gas is shipped. We'll have more on the latest market movements in relation to oil in just a minute. But first, let's delve in more into the effect that this conflict is having on shipping in that Strait of Hormuz. Maersk, which is the world's biggest container shipping company, has announced it's rerouting ships around the Cape of Good Hope. Meanwhile, insurers have been telling ship owners that they would cancel policies and raise coverage prices for vessels travelling through the Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz. Shipping analyst Peter Sand told us earlier this all adds up to significant disruption for the industry.
We basically see all the expected knee-jerk reactions across the board, including that from insurance companies that have basically kept shipping away, not only from Red Sea transits in the past 2 years, but of course also into through the Strait of Hormuz into the Arabian Gulf right now. So that's of course also prompting many carriers, container shipping owners and operators to stay clear of the transit. Massive disruption to those supply chains that are connected via the Arabian Gulf. Many great container lines do transits the Strait of Hormuz going into Jebel Ali before carrying on. But for the time being, it's local, it's regional, but of course also global. With the Houthis now also threatening to increase their attacks on shipping in Bab el-Mandeb, the southern part of Red Sea. So freight costs are rising. Businesses are not connected. Carriers do no longer accept bookings into the Middle East region. So a massive disruption and weaponization of international trade.
Well, what about the stock markets? How are investors reacting? Stock market indices in Asia saw sharp falls at the start of their trading week. Japan's Nikkei closed 1.35% lower. Hong Kong's Hang Seng shed more than 2%. Airlines particularly hardly hit, with Qantas, Japan Airlines and Cathay Pacific shares all down by more than 5%. European indices are also trading lower across the board. I can give you the latest prices there. The FTSE 100 in London down by 0.9%. The DAX in Frankfurt down by almost 1.9%. The CAC in Paris down by 1.7%. And as we look ahead to trading in the United States, where Wall Street futures are also pointing towards the negative. Kathleen Brooks is a research director at the trading platform XTB and joins me now. Thanks for being with us, Kathleen. Take us into the minds of investors. Explain the ripple effects that they are worried about.
Yeah, I mean, financial markets have definitely had a jolt from this event, even though there was quite a big build-up. The actual scale of it and the retaliation across the Middle East was quite unexpected. And I think we are seeing that play out. But I think, Tig, if you told me a couple of years ago, 5 years ago maybe, that the oil price would have risen by 7% when the US and Iran are technically at war with each other, I would have probably expected something much bigger, and I would have maybe expected triple-digit oil. But it just goes to show that the landscape is very different now. The US is the world's biggest oil producer, so there are a broader supply base. So that has a knock-on impact to stocks. So yes, stocks are lower, but they've been disrupted by multiple things this year. The Sell America trade, fears about AI, credit risks as well. This is something else, obviously, to add to that. But I think a rough 2% decline for US and European equities is quite moderate at this stage, even though certain stocks, obviously like the airlines, holiday companies, they are really taking a hit today.
The FTSE 100 not affected as badly, and I know that you believe it could actually be sort of insulated to this turmoil. What more can you tell us about that?
Yes, I mean, this is almost the perfect environment for the FTSE 100. It's very heavy on oil stocks, on miners and materials, because the gold price has also rallied today, and also defence stocks. So those big names, Rolls-Royce, you've got BAE Systems, they're all going to be in demand, and that really plays into it. We've also got a very small tech sector, so we're less impacted by that AI disruption trade. So I think that whilst we want a swift conclusion to this, the FTSE 100 has been making, multiple record highs this year already. And I think that, once the dust has settled on the initial stages of this conflict, we could potentially see more record highs for the FTSE 100 and life above that 11,000 level.
Okay, Kathleen Brooks from XTB, thank you very much for joining us with those thoughts. Let's talk more.
So you see there, this is affecting a lot of industries. It's not just oil. What uses oil, so it's affecting the car industries. And of course, there's going to be other companies and whatnot that are going to be affected by the war also that, you just wouldn't think or didn't think, of or whatever. But again, there's always still going to be money in the stocks. It's always going to be there. It's just people take their money out real quick, sell their stocks off or, however they're going to go about it. It's then there's some people, that we've heard from. So I've been on about an hour now, a couple hours. Has it been 2 hours? Oh, an hour and a half or something? Hour, a little over an hour. And there's people that are pushing you to buy these stocks, like, hey, get it in it because it's going to turn around. And it usually does. So it depends. You're going to fearmonger with it, or you're going to stay in it, or you're going to be selective and move your money to other stocks. All I can say is, you got to be in it to see, to even have an opportunity to gain money off of you investing with your stocks, especially with the ETFs. So again, if they shut down that strait, that's going to have a huge impact on the crude oil, and everything is just going to be crazy after that. I'm going to go back to some Bloomberg and some things. They have Elon Musk on here and other people too. Some people you're going to be familiar with, I'm kind of showing, and people we're not so familiar with. We just want the information and how it's affecting our pockets. That's basically all I'm looking at today. How it's affecting my pockets. We get it, y'all mad, blowing stuff up. How is it affecting our pockets?
Yes, but what do you see as being the inflation issue, which of course is
shock, which is to say that the Bank of Japan hiking interest rates is actually the wrong policy measure. You would actually want to get some income support, another fiscal package, which also Prime Minister Takaichi doesn't really want to do. So we shall see. Lots of uncertainty here, but the good news is
I went back a little bit. One more thing. Thanks for answering the poll in the chat. Thousands of y'all have come through just in this little over an hour. So people are getting up, getting ready for the day and things like that. Either way, I'm Kai of Kai NY7. If you consider subscribing, hit like sometimes, and it helps. It's an open chat room. So put a poll question in the chat. Is Israel/United States versus Iran war worth the debt? Or at least the debt for right now is what I'm saying. Extra debt. 40% are saying yes, 60% say no. So most people don't feel the war is worth it, worth the cost. I do see Trump taking over. Well, we'll see what's going on because I could see him possibly digging into Cuba. So we may get our hands on some of that oil. What's going on right now, we'll see. But it does seem like, at least thus far, Trump has been very aggressive when it comes to tariffs and our trade, to where Americans are going to be on the up. We're going to be on the upside regardless. So far, I haven't seen any letdowns other than the inflation still being here, which does need to come down, of course. But I'm just keeping my ear open to see if we're going to get tariff refunds, things like that, because he's been saving America a lot of money, and also it's being dished out a lot of money, of course, with the war. But are we going to end up capturing some of their resources? Because that's what I think. That's what I think we're going to get from Iran. Their crude oil, things like that, are going to start coming into American economical finances in our favor.
Energy supply, the civilian use of nuclear power, building up more resilient supply chains. That sort of business investment here in Japan is already very strong. And I think that the crisis in the Middle East, is going to make that even stronger in Japan, for Japan. That's where Japanese companies are going to be investing.
Yeah, not to mention
airports at Abu Dhabi. One person killed by shrapnel there. The details are a little bit hazy. Dubai Airport, I mean, this is an area you'd normally think was safe. It was hit by a missile over the weekend, injuring 4 people. So this is the world's busiest international airport. We've had 1,200 flights cancelled now. The UAE Civil Aviation Authority saying 20,000 passengers have been impacted. Now, that seems a little conservative in many requests. That airport sometimes handles up to 10,000 passengers per hour, 95 million passengers in the past year. So the upheaval is going to be huge. And, of course, it ripples out because there's this complex global choreography around flights. If planes and crews are not in the right place at the right time, there's a tremendous knock-on effect. So we're seeing delays in places like India, Canada, Europe. Here in Australia, the government's warned to expect travel disruption over the coming days. And already we're seeing this reflected in the Qantas share price, which I know you've mentioned earlier, off at 9% at one point. Trading volume really heavy. I think it's now off about 6%. But other stocks as well. The flight centre's been impacted. We heard from Qantas in a statement saying there has been currently no impact, but it's got a code-share agreement with Emirates. The share price is down. Seems a little optimistic.
Every time you talk to an airline CEO, I think your second question is probably on hedging oil prices, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And Bloomberg Intelligence has been running some analysis on this as well. And if you work on the assumption that jet fuel prices hit $100 a barrel or north of that, well, it's the hedged carriers that come out of this okay. And those include Qantas, Singapore Airlines, Japan Airlines, ANA, Cathay. They're better positioned to weather this impact. Now, the big three airlines in China, none of them are hedged. Indigo in India also not hedged, and the rupee is very, very weak. So Indigo is going to be an interesting stock to watch when we get to the open in India as well, particularly if this drags on and fuel prices go beyond that potential $100 a barrel level.
Bloomberg's Paul Allen there. One to watch, Avro, as we head into the open in India today.
And as we speak, we're hearing how the IDF is starting an additional wave of strikes in Tehran, continuing those strikes on those targets in the country. No letting up when it comes to military action in Iran. We're looking at Nikkei futures, Topix futures pointing to steep declines at the open. But in terms of sectors that could see a bit of trading the other direction, energy shippers as well. The yen is losing ground. Perhaps those concerns about higher oil prices. JGB futures, that's interesting in how it's been catching a bit. Is its safe haven allure returning, especially following on from the ructions we saw earlier in the year that have more or less been allayed? We'll check the markets open in Tokyo next. This is Bloomberg.
Flipping back and forth so that we see the latest on financial end of things, since we just had the war that just took place early Saturday morning. Again, shout out to us that was here first thing Saturday morning on my live. What's up with the men in the chat though? Y'all been so aggressive. Y'all probably ain't never been in a war, huh? We have any military people in here? Jeez. I wonder who the more overly aggressive men are. Like, what pool do y'all swim in? Y'all be coming here, F this, F that, yeah. It's like, okay, can you speak beyond the vulgarity? Like, why do you feel that way? Can you be specific? Oh my gosh. They need to release all these files too, because I'm honestly tired of hearing y'all make comments about the president doing stuff to minors when there was no proof of any of that. If that was to come out, then that would be totally different. You know, you're making the country look worse than it already is. Pinning something on someone and we don't have anything backing it. Like it's getting weird. You know what I'm saying? It's getting real weird. I don't want no president that's doing nothing with no. Are you crazy? Are you crazy? Mama bear and Papa bear comes out of all of us, even those of us that don't have kids. Are you crazy? Okay. Whatever is hidden is going to come to the light on anyone. All right. But all that other stuff is really getting weird to me. Because a lot of times y'all don't even be doing what y'all supposed to do to help society with this problem anyway. It's just if it's a celebrity, y'all care. If it's Diddy getting dragged, y'all care. We as people need to do better with protecting children, period. I'm not lying about nothing. Y'all boyfriends is out here touching your kids while you at work, while you got that lazy bum on your couch. Hold up. Your father's father did it. And I hope y'all heal from that, because a lot of y'all are hurt and you're projecting anger and frustration on other people. I know people come through my chat that's been abused. And I'm proud of you survivors. And it's a lot of y'all. I speak the truth. The people that can't handle it run off. You can leave. You ain't knowing what's going on with the stocks yet anyway. They ain't open yet. Fuck out of here. But yeah, y'all got to stop doing that. If you want to help, there are pedo and predator catchers right here on youtube.com. There's some great ones. We got Skeeter Jean. We got Alex. We got the Big Bad Wolf, a.k.a. Black Biden. We got a bunch of them on here. We got Alma. Contribute to some of their channels. They have Patreon. They have locals, all of that. If you really care about children, you'll support by watching their catches, learning from them, and helping actually protect children in real time. I like people that do the work. I like when those people come through. I like when people come through that know they ain't having it in real life. They don't want to just come in the chat room just to run their mouth. I like when people really do the work. A lot of y'all don't fit the description. Good, they're gone. It may still be smelly in here a little bit after they leave, but it'll go away. I'm going to spray. Don't even worry about it. I just was watching a live stream recently, and a woman came on. I'll let this still play, but on mute. And, you know, she was saying she remembers what her grandfather did to her. And the things are coming up just discussing the Epstein files. But we got to realize, stop obsessing with celebrities and stop thinking that people with money are evil. And always, see, that's why I'd just rather be broke. Evil people do nasty stuff. I like being broke. I like barely hanging on. Hey, you're getting it twisted, y'all. Money ain't everything, but you do need money. How much, that depends. So basically, that's what this live stream is about today. I wanted to just focus on the financial effects that this war is having on us worldly. You know what I'm saying? It's a global thing. And a lot of y'all don't even know what the heck's going on. So it helps when channels or like myself will just show important parts of it and breakdowns as they come. And if you have questions, I'm here to help answer them as much as I can. So that's what I'm doing this morning. I'm a little anxious to see the stock markets this morning. Okay. And their crude oil ships have stopped in Iran. Nothing's been really coming through. So countries are feeling like they're going to shut it down. And if they shut it down, that's a major expressway, basically, in the waters that we use for the crude oil. So it's extremely important. So we'll see what goes on. And it's, what time is it? 4 a.m. Pacific time on the West Coast. It's 7 a.m. in the East Coast. And the stocks open at 9 a.m. So anyone coming through, I usually, my channel is mostly focused for things to do with the community, the inner communities, spirituality, and astros has to do with astronomy. And there's another thing. Oh, and music. So I'm working my way back into doing the music and, you know, working with temperamental YouTube. So that's it. But I'm Kai of Kai NY7. Glad to have you here. Would appreciate if you hit like sometimes when you come through. Share your thoughts. Let me know how you're doing. I don't ask just to ask. I do want to know how you're doing. Yeah, that's it. And if you catch the replay, that would be cool too. And leave a comment after. That definitely helps. And appreciate y'all coming through. Hang on a sec. Let me go back a little bit. Are they okay? They just replaying what Trump said a little while back. What are they showing now?
In which both the U.S. and Israel are planning to keep things up.
Yeah, hi. So the attacks have been going on for the past 48 hours, and there's really no sign of them subsiding. The latest we know is that the U.S. has had over 1,000 targets in Iran at this point. Israel continuing the attack as well. President Trump saying that the attacks are not going to stop until all the objectives have been achieved. Now, the one key thing here is we're not entirely clear on what the objectives of the Trump administration are at this point. So Khamenei has been killed. That was confirmed early hours of the morning, this morning, or should I say yesterday morning. But we're not entirely sure what the objectives are, and the risks that lie ahead are quite severe. So when we talk about oil prices, for example, those have jumped in the early hours of trading. They're close to $80 a barrel. That is not good for President Trump, but it's also not entirely good for the region as well. Now, OPEC Plus has hiked production to over 200 barrels a day earlier when they met on Sunday. The Strait of Hormuz is also under pressure. We know that the Iranians have said that there is no intention to close down the Strait of Hormuz, but ships have moved away from the Strait of Hormuz. Now, Bloomberg Economics estimates that if a closure were to happen, and still that is not the base case scenario even now, but if that were to happen, oil prices would jump to about $108 a barrel. That is not good neither for the importers nor the exporters, because as a matter of fact, oil above 100 still doesn't balance budgets for a lot of countries in the region. So we're watching for these escalations and what they mean for especially Arab Gulf states who have been hit pretty hard. Even Oman, that is a key mediator between Iran and the U.S., was not kept safe. A port in Oman, the Duqm port, was hit earlier by Iran. And when the foreign minister of Iran, Abbas Araghchi, was speaking about the attack against Oman, he said that he called his counterpart and assured him that the Iranians, that was not their main choice, that the armed forces in Iran had acted in somewhat of an isolation. So you're seeing some domestic risks coming up in Iran as well, that is now being ruled by a governing body post the killing of Ayatollah Khamenei.
Risks for President Trump too, right, Kaylee, when it comes to war fatalities on the US side, when it comes to the potential risk of energy prices and inflation, and just the domestic.
I'll let it play a little bit more. Any investors in the chat? Where the ladies at? It's a lot of aggressive men be coming through here. Where are the ladies? And these are general topics. Come on. I know in the past, sometimes the ladies get scared because I be speaking the truth, but I do it on everybody. That's what sets our asses free. Stop running from it. Where the ladies at? Come get some of these guys with the money. No, I'm playing. That's some of it. We're gonna go and see what other updates they got going on too. People are waking their butts up. Okay. Oh, I just think it's funny though, because like when I look at the chat, if you really look at the chat, and I know y'all probably channel surf, the most aggressive, there'll be aggressive women too, of course, sometimes, hey, but the men be in there bugging out. Like whether it's a war going on, whether it's peace. Are y'all backed up these days? Is it worse when y'all backed up? You know what I'm saying? With y'all intimacy and all that stuff. Is it worse in the wintertime? Because y'all be coming on here taking it out on everybody. Better go watch something. You know what I'm saying? Leak it out, go take a shower. You be all right for at least for a while, for some days or something. You know what I'm saying? You definitely ain't gonna get no woman acting like a caveman. I'm telling you, that might have worked decades ago. That ain't really gonna work. It worked for some females that's into that, the barbarism. Okay, I can't speak for all ladies now. Ladies, we all come in different flavors and flavors. I don't know who desiring that. Damn, come outside, some guy waiting to beat you upside the head. Come here. Yeah, let me tell you why I'm so damn angry. Like, all right, but you know what I'm saying? Everybody turned off. Whatever happened to that? Mm-hmm. Care how broke you are, how much money you got. You can't buy chemistry. You can't buy emotion. Don't get too mad about somebody when it got to do with money. That's weird. Women live caveman. You ain't even spell it right. You know you a lie. Women live, or you try to say love, cavemen. I don't know about that. Can y'all watch the language? So I appreciate it. I just got done talking about you cavemen. Y'all be wilding out. What's going on with y'all? When y'all wake up, y'all just be so brick hard and they ain't nothing to do about it. So then y'all come on YouTube and just be pissed off even more. Come on, I know what I'm talking about. Y'all be coming up here hard as a rock. Mad at the world. V5 Or was that a giant back in the day that did that? V5 Captain Caveman. Cavemen be waking up in the middle of the night with me. Usually I be nicer. When I do the cam on, I be getting some cool men. Cavemen, y'all be coming out. I don't know what's going on with y'all, but you got hands. You use them to fight. You use them to drain yourself. Do something, and that might help. I'm just saying, try it. Try it. There are a lot lizards out here. I wouldn't say do that, but there's so many options. You know what I'm trying to say? You know what I'm saying? That you could release that and then come on here and not be so aggressive and mean. I'm just saying, it's a suggestion. It's a suggestion. All right. Plenty of us have woken up in cold beds. You know what I'm saying? Only thing hot is your armpits. Hard as a rock. Coming on YouTube.com. Starting trouble. Where your head at? On my shoulders. On my shoulders, my guy. On my shoulders. I'm just saying, y'all just be rough. Rough. And then got the nerve to come and want to hang around a bunch of guys, though, that be on YouTube circle jerking. You know what I'm saying? I know what y'all do. It ain't gonna get you nowhere. I'm trying to help you out. I'm trying to help you out financially and intimately. Shoot. Calm down. All right. BBC. They're talking about travel disruption. I don't care. Is that wrong that I don't give a crap? We'll go to that. We'll do the travel, and then I want to get back to finances, and then we'll look into the updates. Something else, okay? But she probably walking around with no drawers on too. Yeah. All right. So someone is saying that it's been shut down 36 hours. Now it's not. They didn't confirm the shutdown. They're going by the that it has stopped. It's at a standstill. I think I'm some. I want to make sure I'm wording this correctly. Um. So we got a crude oil discrimination. I, I'm just listening. I want to say this correctly. It's not declared shutdown, but they're looking at it like, well, we're looking at it as a shutdown because it's at a standstill. American tankers was hit too, and I didn't hear much talk about that. But a couple of them. Thank you. I didn't realize it was muted. I'm not sure why it did that, but I'll get right back to it. Thank you. Your name is Bendejo? Well, thank you, Bendejo. Oh my goodness.
Wide-ranging air assault against the Iran-backed militia group Hezbollah.
Plans to potentially evacuate UK nationals. So joining me now is the airline analyst, John Strickland, director at JLS Consulting. John, thanks for being with us. So much air traffic passes through those big Middle Eastern hubs, Doha, Dubai, and Abu Dhabi, stopping off on trips going all over the world. Is this essentially going to be put on halt until missiles stop flying overhead?
You're absolutely right. I mean, these Gulf hubs have become an essential anchor point, really pivotal to 21st century aviation, not least the east-west flows between Europe and Australasia. We're talking about typically 500,000 passengers a day go through those airports. And there's not really any alternative or very limited capacity elsewhere these days to some of the routings that people take. And of course, the airlines in question, particularly Emirates and Qatar, have aircraft not only grounded in their hubs, but scattered around the world with crews now out of place and passengers not knowing when that can be addressed.
There's short-term disruption, obviously, but what about the potential for long-term disruption? If this doesn't happen soon, what can the industry do to recalibrate itself and perhaps avoid this airspace for the medium term?
But specifically, I was asking, every war there's a debt. I'm just asking, do you feel it's worth it? The war that's going on, is it worth the damage it's creating? Is it worth the financial debt that is going to be created? Do you feel like the U.S. is going to be more on a come up? Maybe you might not care, but is it worth it? Some people want to spend the money. It costs a lot to have a war. So there's some people that just don't want to spend on a war. You know what I'm saying? Then there's some people that say, hey, we're going to have to pay a price for now, but we're going to tap in that crude oil. We're going to be, you know what I'm saying? We're going to be getting that, some of those, a lot of the finances back. Some people feel like, yeah, we may have a debt for a little while, but it's going to be, it's worth it. Or we may not, we may stay in a deeper debt, but you just wanted to get at Iran so bad. You know what I'm saying? So it was worth it to you. So only a couple of y'all don't get it. Some questions are going to be simple. Some questions are just questions. You can answer it. You don't have to answer it. I think there's almost a couple of hundred answers in there. Let me check on the poll. Yeah. Right, there you go. Financially, no. Morally, yes. Okay. Yeah. No one has to have economics training. See, this is a problem with people. Don't let your ignorance get in the way, because you may not have to be that bright about it. The war is going to affect a lot of people globally anyway. Some of us more than others. And then some of us are going to get back a lot more than other countries are going to get. You don't have to have training. You can just sit around and not know nothing too. You can sit around and not know nothing and never invest in nothing. Hey, most people do that. Or you could want to know what's going on. You can come on YouTube, you can go on Google and look up certain resources and find out the facts for yourself. So what people like me do is putting the time in and breaking it down and coming on here with it. And I figure stay encouraged to invest, because it almost always pays off. You know what I'm saying? So that's some of what the people at Bloomberg are saying too. Don't let things scare you off from investing, because sometimes you jump in there like a time like now. And some of the stocks are going to be so low because people are like, oh, I'm scared. This is the time to buy them. It could be a day, it could be longer. You're going to see your money going up. Come on now. But you have to be in it and take a chance. So I would never, ever discourage people to not invest. Yeah, so I'm also rich. No, you're nothing. I'm about to show you how nothing you are. So let me get you up out of here. People so weird. You must be a guy that's backed up too. I just got done talking about you hobos. I just got done talking about you hobos. You ain't said nothing economic since you've been here. You've said nothing economic since you've been here. Should I ban them or time them out? My whole thing is this. This is where you lose people. Um, People feel like they don't know enough about money to deal with money. Do you deal with money at all? Then you're already in it. You can easily educate yourself. There's no excuse to be a dum-dum no more. We have free education. When I was coming up, we had to pay for everything. Y'all got it free. Everything on here is free. Just look it up. Don't be ignorant like that person, Decon. What's his name? Decon Frost 7. You don't even deserve to have that number 7 there. 7 is for chosen ones like myself. So yeah, now I'm gonna have to get in your ass a little bit. People want to stay ignorant so that they can sit around and just complain. I'm not a complainer. Any complainers that come my way, I'm gonna change you. I'm gonna change you. You're not gonna just be sitting around complaining and bitching and oh, well, you don't know, I don't know. Well, I'll just sit here and be broke then. Oh, matter of fact, I'm rich today. Oh, it don't matter. You could be a dumb rich person. You ain't gonna be rich for long. I'm wise enough to know that I'm gonna be wealthy. I'm not trying to just be rich. And guess what? The people that do the money the best, thank you, new subscriber. Zara Russell. Let me see. Zara Russell, thank you, new subscriber. Somebody got sense. I know some of y'all got good sense. We'll make it gooder. You got to be in it. This is why people don't get wealth, because you scare yourself out of it being around people that are too ignorant to let you know you already in it. What are you talking about? There's stocks that cost less than $1. Get in it. Once you're in it, you're in business meetings. It's up to you. You don't have to attend. I would. What companies are your favorite? You like Hood? Do you smoke Newports? You want to get in? You got tobacco. You got everything. I like McCormick Spices. I ain't trying to call out brands, but all type of great things that I already buy as a consumer. I started investing in the company. Now, not only my money, I'm buying your product, but other people's money and my money, some of that is tapping into the stocks. And the more you buy, the more you're going to get back. Don't feel you're too ignorant to get in it. You already in it. Have you ever touched money, honey? Then you're already in it. Take that next step. Get your account. I was in Ameritrade. They were really good. Now you have Schwab. You have Moomoo. Moomoo is an Asian-run company. They have good incentives. As soon as you step in the ring, okay, they have free stuff for you. It's free. Don't let nothing scare you out of making more money. Now that's crazy. This is what keeps people down. It's people like that that'll tell you you don't know what you're talking about or you don't know enough about it. How dare you? You don't know enough. Guess what? I'm so wise to know I'll never know enough. But guess what? Every single day I learn something. Every day. While people are sitting around digging in their butts and digging in their noses and worrying about what other people gossiping about, I'm over here researching. And it's working for me. I'm trying to show you I let it work for you too. I don't care what's going on around us. We're going to be good. I talk about tapping into your ancestors. That's eternal protection. Today, we're talking about finances. Finances, how the war affects our finances. I want to see what's going on with the stocks. I want y'all to be encouraged to get in the stocks and be encouraged to know that at a certain point, if you're tapped in, it don't matter what's going on around you. You're covered. You're protected. And I don't teach gluttony. You don't need to have to want everything. You shouldn't be wanting everything. But that's you if you do. But I'm telling you, it's not fulfilling what you really need. You got to be content sometime in your life. Be happy with what you got and then say, hey, I want some more though. Okay, then I'm going to do this. Oh, okay, I'm going to move my money over here. That's what it's about. And you have to share with people. You got to show love to people. If not, I mean, that's on you. But most people that accumulate wealth and they do stuff for other people, I'm telling you, you just become more blessed. blessings aren't money either. Stop feeling like if somebody give you some money, that was a blessing. That money could have came down the channel of demonism vessel. It's not that, it's what you do with it. You already blessed. They say we use a small percentage of our brain. Are you kidding me? And you don't want to work on it and keep and expand it? I don't let them tell me that I'm only going to use only section of part of my brain. I don't care what you know about the human anatomy. I'm tapping into other areas. I'm telling you, you already blessed. I tell folks to get out our pockets.
Well, a number of airlines flying, particularly on these east-west routings, including going through to Asia, have been having to use more Middle Eastern airspace in recent times post the Ukraine crisis with the inability to fly over Siberia. So the options are even more limited. As you said there, maybe the British government's looking to assist some passengers to move them, but when the airports are closed and airspace is off limits, then very little can happen. I think there will be a recalibration once we get through, hopefully sooner than later, all this military activity and things calm down. I don't see these hubs in any way being damaged in terms of the role they play in aviation or indeed in the attractiveness of parts of the region, particularly, for example, Dubai, from a tourism point of view. But that's somewhere down the line at an unpredictable time at the moment.
One really quickly, John, is this a situation where disrupted passengers can get compensation?
I think it's extremely unlikely. Even insurance policies for much travel don't tend to cover war risks, so there's a very high exposure. Having said that, at least we're here in the UAE. The country is footing hotel bills for people stuck there. Airlines will certainly do their best to move people and make absolute flexibility in the arrangements for changing tickets, whatever price customers have paid.
Okay. John Strickland, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much. Do stay with us here on BBC News for more updates on the market reaction to all the latest developments in the Middle East. Do stay with us here on BBC News.
Times, the assault on Iran could last 4 to 5 weeks. The president calling on Tehran's leaders to cede power to the nation's people. Bloomberg's Tyler Kendall joins us now for more. Morning, Tyler.
Hey, John, good morning. Well, as you heard, President Trump says that the U.S. military campaign will continue in, quote, full force as the U.S. looks to achieve its objectives. President Trump has offered various goals of this military operation, though at this point it is not totally clear how the White House is measuring progress, though the president did confirm the U.S. has successfully hit hundreds of Iranian military targets. A group of senior administration officials did brief us reporters in a press call over the weekend and said that these strikes largely started after what was disappointing progress in the Iran nuclear talks last week. As you well know, there have been big disagreements about Iran's domestic enrichment capacity, but also the fact that these key agenda items were not put on the table, namely Iran's ballistic missile program. And now a person familiar with the matter confirms to Bloomberg News that the CIA had been tracking and monitoring Iran's supreme leader for months, and that ultimately the U.S. changed the timeline of these strikes based off of those findings. The president did indicate in an interview with the New York Times he would be willing to negotiate with Iran's transitory government, saying that perhaps this could take the shape of something similar to what happened in Venezuela, saying that potentially we could see some of Iran's leaders remain in power if they're willing to cede to U.S. demands, though, of course, President Trump has also called on the Iranian people to overtake their government. It is important to note that Iran's security chief overnight did deny reports that the country has reached out to the U.S. for talks. John, I will also add that later on this morning we will hear from the Pentagon for the first time in a public briefing that's set for 8 a.m. Eastern. We're expecting to hear from Secretary Pete Hegseth as well as the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Dan Kane.
We'll make a note of that. Tyler, thank you. That's happening in the next hour. Tyler Kendall from the White House this morning. To extend the conversation,
All right, so they got Hegseth, we got the Pentagon that'll be coming on in a half hour. SNL did a live comedy sketch on the war Saturday night. So we see what he's saying. From what I remember, two of our U.S. tankers were hit. But I also meant to mention, I know yesterday evening, I saw that Trump said that the U.S. sunk 9 Iranian naval ships also last night. Why don't we go to that? Get covered. It's looking really cool.
President Trump spoke to the possibility of American troops losing their lives in this operation. Listen.
My administration has taken every possible step to minimize the risk to U.S. personnel in the region. Even so, and I do not make this statement lightly, the Iranian regime seeks to kill. The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties. That often happens in war. But we're doing this not for now. We're doing this for the future, and it is a noble mission.
CBS News White House correspondent Willie James Inman is following the president. He's in West Palm Beach, Florida, for us this morning. Willie James, good afternoon to you. What have we heard from the president today?
Hey there, Errol. The president actually posting just moments ago on True Social, and I want to bring up that statement from the president so our viewers can see it, essentially giving a battle damage report from the field. He said he has just been informed we have destroyed and sunk 9 Iranian naval ships, some of them relatively large and important. We are going after the rest. They will soon be floating at the bottom of the sea. Also, in a different attack, we largely destroyed their naval headquarters. Other than that, their Navy is doing very well. Now, the president has been working the phones with other world leaders, talking to regional leaders, but also speaking to members of the media, including our own Robert Costa, as Olivia mentioned. The president saying in that interview last night with Bob Costa, saying that it was a great day for this country, a great day for the world, in reference to what took place yesterday when the U.S. and Israel launched the strikes against Iran, which led to the death of the Ayatollah, also led to the death of several members of Iran's regime. The president also saying to The Atlantic today that he will be speaking and agreed to talk to the Iranians. We, of course, know that there have been negotiations ongoing. Those negotiations appear to have broken down, leading to this moment. In large part, the U.S., the president, wanted Iran to curb its nuclear program, including enrichment and the ballistic missile program, part of that, those conversations as well. But that statement today coming from the president saying that perhaps the U.S. And Israelis were involved in this, but saying that we have destroyed and sunk 9 Iranian naval ships. The latest statement coming there from the President of the United States on his social media platform.
And how is the White House justifying these strikes, considering those indirect talks have been ongoing preceding this weekend?
Yeah, there have been many questions about this, and I'll note that the president's statement that he gave was one that wasn't broadcast or recorded by us, meaning the media, the reporters who travel with him. So we weren't able to engage and ask him questions, although he is taking some of these phone calls, speaking to reporters over the phone at least. But senior administration officials did brief members of the media without taking questions. They talked about the breakdown in those negotiations. In large part, the president wanted to curb that program, as I mentioned. But the ballistic missile program, which we of course know is a threat to not only the region but to close ally Israel, senior administration officials say that the Iranians did not want to engage on conversations surrounding that ballistic missile program. All of what happened and took place in those negotiations led by Steve Witkoff, the special envoy, and the president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, that information was given to the president. And a senior administration official saying that POTUS frankly had no choice but to act.
All right, Willie James Inman with the latest for us out of West Palm Beach, Florida. Thank you.
going to switch over to Al Jazeera channel. They tend to have some good raw interviews and information. It's good to get information from different international reliable sources. And this is one too. And then that helps get rid of the bias and some of the narrative painting and, just try to get the truth. And sometimes you got to surf around. You can't trust your own people half the time in like no form. Got it. Hold on.
Intelligence activities illegal. Social media that it intends to target all of the Qard al-Hassan branches. These are financial institutions run by Hezbollah across the country, and they're also threatening to target a building in one of the neighborhoods in Beirut's southern suburbs. We're wearing the helmet because if you can hear the gunfire. What happens is that this is gunfire. What happens is that when the Israeli army posts these warnings on social media, Hezbollah fires these warning shots in the neighborhoods to tell residents to leave that area. So we are expecting an airstrike any time now in the Burj al-Barajni neighborhood, and we're also expecting airstrikes across the country where Qard al-Hassan, these financial institutions. We're in a very, very similar situation like back in late 2024 when Israel really piled a lot of pressure on Hezbollah. And this pressure appears to be continuing, with the Israeli army even telling people, residents of people who left their homes overnight from areas where Hezbollah has influence, telling them they are not going home anytime soon. So really, when you punish a community, you are putting more pressure on Hezbollah. So we're expecting strikes at any time now following those warnings issued by the Israeli army.
Zaina, I want to make sure our viewers understand how significant this development is that you informed us of. The Lebanese government has now banned Hezbollah's military activity. I mean, the militia group Hezbollah, which has since evolved into a political party, of course, was at one point the most dominant military force, until quite recently, most dominant military force in Lebanon. And for the government, whether it's the president or the prime minister, to simply ban their military and their intelligence would have been unthinkable 1 or 2 years ago.
Well, no doubt, Hezbollah was not just the most powerful military force in the country, stronger than the Lebanese army. It was also the most powerful political force, along with its allies controlling political power in Lebanon. That changed post-October 2024, when Israel began to target the group, launching a wide-scale aerial bombardment through September, October, November in 2024. Then you had a ceasefire, but despite that ceasefire, the Israeli army continued to target Hezbollah's members and what they call Hezbollah's assets, underground facilities. So this group really has been weakened. It's not just because of the Israeli strikes. We also have to remember neighboring Syria, Hezbollah used this really as a logistical base. But with the fall of the Assad regime and the new authorities in Damascus, Hezbollah lost that as well. And Hezbollah has been coming under a lot of financial pressure with new restrictions in place. So there is a new political leadership in Lebanon, and we're seeing these bold decisions, if you like, but it's still a weak state. And the question is, will they be able to implement this, force Hezbollah to hand over their weapons? Hezbollah has been refusing to hand over its weapons north of the Litani River, saying that they will not submit to Israeli and American demands. The Lebanese state argues that this is not a foreign demand, but a national demand, a demand so that the country can reclaim sovereignty and for the state to be able to extend its authority and ensure that weapons are solely in the hands of the state. So bold decisions, now the implementation, and that really is key.
As Zaina, we were just seeing the traffic jam, people leaving southern Beirut, which is the target, has been the target of multiple military strikes. Noor, back to you on this. What is Israel saying about what it intends to do with Hezbollah right now? It has targeted the southern suburbs of Beirut, as we said, a stronghold of Hezbollah. And as I understand it, they have now put Hezbollah's new leader on their official list of targets?
That's right, Cyril. I mean, for weeks now, if not more, there have been a lot of discussions in Israel about carrying out a large-scale operation against Hezbollah in Lebanon. And there was a flurry of diplomatic activities to try and prevent that, to give the Lebanese state a chance to fulfill the agreement that ended the confrontation between Hezbollah and Israel. And for a while, it seemed that those efforts were working. But all the time, Israel understood that if it were to launch strikes to start a war with Iran, engagement with Hezbollah was really a very real and credible possibility. And when the cabinet started its meeting overnight, there were talks in right-wing media circles, in from reporters close to Benjamin Netanyahu, that the cabinet was already considering expanding the war to another front. Everybody understood that to be possibly Lebanon. With Hezbollah launching those drones and the missiles, basically Israel got what it wanted, and it immediately announced that it was going to teach Hezbollah a lesson. We heard from the Israeli Minister of Defense saying that Israel is going to launch a wide-scale offensive, that nobody was immune, not even the group's Secretary General. Avigdor Lieberman, who was a defense minister at some point, also a right-wing figure, but from the opposition, said that Israel must seize this opportunity and Hezbollah once and for all. There was a meeting between the head of the opposition, Yair Lapid, and the Israeli Prime Minister earlier in the day. That man, Yair Lapid, expressed absolute support to the Prime Minister in the war with Iran, but also with Hezbollah.
And Noor O'Day, thank you very much. This conflict was initiated
It's not a well-telegraphed and somewhat symbolic attack coming from the Iranians. It is sustained, and it's increasingly involved in other parts of the Middle East.
This is an existential crisis for the regime, what's left of it. And we're struggling to find the off-ramp, at least so far this morning, and that'll be a big discussion for us. Elsewhere, the discussion of the moment. When you ask anyone about crude, it's about duration. You tell me how long this will last, and I'll tell you what kind of impact this is going to have. That's the debate a lot of people are having.
And the problem with that debate is that it's wholly unknown at this point. How do you price that in? How do you understand how long it takes to achieve the president's goal, which is a changing of regime? This is not a regime that's placed as a pyramid where you take someone out at the top and there's not a lot of people waiting. It's concentric circles of leadership, be it military, be it security, be it economic or ideological. This is a complicated regime to have a true shift in it. And that makes it unknown of just how long the United States and Israel are willing to continue to make pain in that region and the Iranian regime to strike back.
So as you'd expect, some big moves at the index level for stocks. Beneath that, at the sector level, energy doing well. You'd guarantee that on the morning like this morning. Elsewhere, what are you seeing play out? You're seeing defense names start to rally aggressively. Elsewhere, the airlines. The airlines are getting beaten up for more reason than one. I think what was notable over the weekend was just the amount of retaliation we saw beyond just Israel and the US and strategic targets, but to other Gulf nations as well. To hear Jemana Besechi in her coverage out of the region, the fact that she's still hearing sirens go off and bombs explode above her head, that's pretty shocking for a lot of people living in that region.
And by the way, it's a region that has worked very hard to try to appeal to foreigners. Foreigners, whether it be to come live there or foreign businesses to come in. What happens when that appearance of security and a stabilization is somewhat shattered? John, the other thing that I'm trying to get my head around this morning is the reaction in Israeli markets. I realize smaller, more local, but to have Israeli stocks trade at a record high, to have the shekel surge 2% versus the dollar, that seems to be pricing that maybe this is a 12-day war impact. Maybe this can come to a conclusion quite quickly. the different reaction of markets and just the degree to which we're willing to price and sustain conflict, it seems that we're not quite willing to go there yet.
As things stand, the president's talking about weeks and not days. Now, that can change, but that's as things stand. Equity futures so far this morning negative by 1% on the S&P. Coming up this hour, Peter Chair of Academy Securities as the U.S. conflict with Iran throws markets into chaos. The retired Colonel Joel Rayburn joins us as President Trump warns operations could last weeks. Plus, Stephen Schork of the Schork Group as oil prices jump the most in almost 4 years. We begin this out with stocks falling and Brent surging. Peter Chair of Academy Securities writing a change in regime rather than regime change in Iran could be more stable, bringing a group willing to work with Washington. Pete joins us now for more. Pete, good morning.
Good morning.
Pete, we are not there yet. So let's start with one market, energy, and let's start with crude, both WTI and Brent. You've got a spot price and then you've got to move further out along the curve. What are you seeing?
So I think the price action's reasonable right now. It's up a little bit. I think we priced in a lot. The way Saturday morning went, it was so good for the allies. Everything was going swimmingly. Now, as you pointed out, we're starting to see more attacks coming back. We're seeing some losses of troops, of equipment. So you have to price in a little bit more risk. I still ultimately think this calms down. We don't see a permanent disruption of the strait, and we can move on from here. So I'm actually constructive. I'd be taking energy markets lower probably from here. I want to, take some profits there. And that's kind of my view, is that we'll be calm and overall equities can rebound from here.
Help us identify the thing that you're looking
at. Right. So we're doing that today. I was looking at some finances that's going on that may affect us because of the war. Welcome, her body. I'm Kai of Kai NY7. Mostly talk about things that do with Astros in the community, our relations. But as we talk about today, because in about an hour, 15 minutes, the stock markets will actually open, and then we'll begin to see, the more in-depth financial analysis and things like that have an effect on our monies, things like that. So, yeah, well, I was doing something. I don't ban people. It's just if people go too far, it is what it is. But you have to really go too far. So what I did was I timed someone out. Then what you did, you went on my channel to leave a little ridiculous comment. I don't know what your point was, but let's take a look. I had a decent live stream. Again, shout out to those that were there for this. United. As soon as the war broke out, we was in the building. We were here early. I don't know why it says that. Comments turned off. It's in the middle of the night, most places in the. That's a person, he's dying for attention. So you got a little attention. Let's check out your channel. I don't know how you got 1,000 subscribers. Yeah, right. It's probably fake. Trust me, I give more attention to the good ones, but sometimes I got time. I got time. I already figured you were a white male. Size people are pretty good.
This is how you underpin a basement. This was a doghouse, which is a structure. They built a full foundation just to have the second and first floor above it. But they just went ahead and continued to wall over from here to here. Now, you don't really have room to drill from really underneath. So what you do is you make a piece of bar that resembles this right here. These will get epoxy.
Let me know if you see the teenage mutant right down there. Come to New York, we'll show you what we got underground. Probably won't like it. Too bad. Best Buy, lies. Yeah, you kind of miserable. You probably think everybody lying. You should try this out on the internet. What is you talking about? Yeah, so this is a person trolling me today. I kind of like when people have channels because then I usually go right to it, and sometimes.
So you're telling me that for me to buy a phone outright through Best Buy, you absolutely have to hook the phone up for me. I can't just walk out with the box and handle my business and my affairs on my own.
It's at discretion of the store. So when the
your discretion is that
when the phone is new and we have people waiting on a waiting list and things like that to get the phone, yes.
So your discretionary thing is you're going to make me hook it up, but you won't just sell it outright for $7.
No, he said you gotta wait. He said people already been waiting. So you a dum-dum. But you might as well subscribe to me if you didn't already, because I'm gonna help you not be a dummy.
Phone is new, and we have people waiting on a waiting list and things like that to get the phone. Yes.
So your discretionary thing is you're going to make me hook it up, but you won't just sell it outright for $700.
But you're buying it outright.
But you're hooking it up. Maybe I don't want it hooked up. Maybe I want to, you know what I mean, go back to my house. Maybe I don't want you to have my telephone number. Maybe it's none of your business, but that maybe, just maybe, that's how I want to do it.
Well, is that the case? Is that what you want to do?
Yes, I want to do it. I'll hook it up my number, but I want to do it myself.
You want to just go home and do it yourself?
Yes.
Okay. If you really want to do that, go right ahead.
All right, great. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. So you're telling me that for me to buy a phone.
I wonder how many times he had to tell you, troll. I'll be the biggest troll you've seen. People got to realize that. I'll be taking it easy. I don't want to have to give your address out, your IP, and all that stuff that I know how to hack into. I'm trying not to do all that. So watch how you troll me. You can troll me, but you gotta be careful how you do it. All right, my bad. 10 minutes ago, I didn't even see some of these comments. I was doing something and working on something else at the time. Israel just attacked Lebanon. Let me see. What's going on here then? Hold on, y'all. They're talking about, hang on. Let me add that to the screen. Hang on.
People who have been stranded there. Now, we understand that one of the possibilities they're looking at is renegotiating the reopening of regional airspace. Another one is looking at busing Britons into Saudi Arabia and then flying them out from there to the UK. This is going to be an enormous logistical operation. To confirm, there is no evacuation yet, but planning is absolutely underway.
All right, Charlie Angela in London, thank you very much. Let's find out what the Americans might or might not be doing for their citizens in the region. Kimberly, you're at the White House. You just heard the reporting out of London. The British authorities are now considering, what would be a massive evacuation of all their nationals who are in this part of the world. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of people. Have the Americans so far considered anything even remotely similar?
If they have, it has not yet been made public, but there certainly have been over the course of the last 48 to 72 hours. There have been extensive updates from the U.S. Embassy directed by the State Department in order to ensure that non-essential government personnel at various embassies were made available to evacuate. We also know that their family members and then just generally American citizens who were looking to leave countries in the Middle East were helped and assisted in terms of making those arrangements. But what I can tell you is that we will be getting the latest updates on all of that in the next hour when we are expecting to hear a briefing from Pentagon officials. Not only will it be the chair of the Joint Chiefs, Dan Kane, but also the Defense Secretary at the Department of War, as it's now called, Pete Hegseth. Now, there's no question, Cyril, that the
I don't know if I'm just tired of all this news. They just seem too loud in my ear. Excuse me, I was about to say something. Oh, all right. So in less than 10 minutes, we're going to be hearing from the Pentagon. So we'll do that live. Hegseth is going to be speaking. So just hang on. I wanted to get to, what is it, India Today. They have some of the latest updates. I want to see what they got going on. We can just keep getting information and waiting for the stock market to open for some economic info, and then go from there. Come on.
In Kuwait, there were a lot of questions about what led to that exact moment. You see how it just essentially free falls and crashes. The pilots are safe, by the way. You see that in the footage. Now, shockingly, it's not just one jet. It's 3 in all. And US has confirmed that these crashes rather, were a result of friendly fire.
The war between the US-Israel combination and Iran is widening across West Asia. On day 3 of the conflict, the skies turned volatile. A video showing an American F-15 fighter jet crashing in Kuwait emerged. The video shows the fighter jet descending rapidly before crashing. Initial reports suggested the pilot ejected safely, with videos circulating online showing him on the ground and being given shelter inside a car. The cause of the crash, however, remains unclear, although initial speculation points to possible friendly fire, suggesting the aircraft may have been engaged by a Patriot air defense system, a US-made platform designed to intercept incoming missiles and hostile aircraft. But Kuwait's subsequent confirmation that more than one aircraft had crashed has made those claims uncertain. Kuwait's defense ministry says not one but multiple American F-15 fighter jets crashed. It added that all crew members were safe and investigations are underway. The Kuwait Integrated Petroleum Industries Company says the debris fell inside the Mina Al Ahmadi refinery, injuring 2 workers. Air defense systems such as the Patriot rely on an advanced radar and encrypted communication to identify a friend or a foe before launching interceptor missiles. Friendly fire incidents, while embarrassing and a cause of concern, are not uncommon during periods of intense conflict. US CENTCOM has now confirmed that 3 F-15 fighter jets were shot down in Kuwait due to friendly fire. So what really happened in the skies over Kuwait? Was it hostile fire, a technical failure, or a case of friendly fire in the fog of war? Bureau Report, India Today.
So the update that's come in post that report being filed is that, yes, it's very much friendly fire. So that mystery over what led to that crash, that's finally been cleared up by America itself. It's not just one F-15, but 3 in all that crashed, 6 pilots, all of them are safe. But let's get you details really that we know right now about what played out. I have Sandeep Punithan with me, joining me here in the studio. Sandeep, you know, you have a statement that's come in from US that only perhaps leads to more questions about how something like this could have happened, of 3 F-15s coming crashing down in Kuwait. What exactly do they mean when they say friendly fire here?
Well, you know, Akshita, this is almost unprecedented, at least in the 21st century. 3 jets being knocked down by, you know, a ground-based air defense system, which is supposed to be on your side, right? That's why these incidents are called blue on blues or friendly fire. And as someone, you know, who's spoken to pilots who've been at the receiving end of this, there's nothing friendly about friendly fire, right? That's just a euphemism. The fact is that 3 jets went down, 3 Strike Eagles went down, 3 very capable frontline US fighter aircraft, fighter bombers went down. These were the aircraft that the US is using to strike at Iran. Now, obviously, there is going to be a court of inquiry to go into the reasons for this. And it is actually adds to the US's list of such aircraft losses. There have been some very unprecedented losses very recently, as recent as 2025, when the carrier Harry S. Truman that was operating in the Red Sea lost 3 F-18s. In fact, one of them was down by friendly fire again when another aircraft, when one of the warships mistook it for an enemy aircraft and fired at it, the F-18. The F-18 was, you know, knocked out of the sky. The pilots ejected, and it very nearly brought down a second F-18 as well.
I keep thinking about this crude oil. I couldn't help but think about Bobby Brown's song, Don't Be Cruel. Don't be cruel. Because I would never be that cruel to you. I know, oh, I know. What up, cutie? What's up with this attitude? I thought that I was being real good to you. Treat you good, take you out at night, but you never say thanks, though. That ain't right.
78.45 this morning, WTI at 72.
It's a real risk that is starting to emerge, that it's not just ships being bullied out of traveling through the Strait of Hormuz. It is oil and energy infrastructure being attacked, with Qatar LNG pausing those shipments after an attack on a Saudi refinery too. Given that this is an Iranian regime that is now facing its very existence, this is not the 12-day war. This is not a well-telegraphed and somewhat symbolic attack coming from the Iranians. It is sustained, and it's increasingly involving other parts of the Middle East.
This is an existential crisis for the regime, what's left of it. And we're struggling to find the off-ramp, at least so far this morning, and that'll be a big discussion for us. Elsewhere, the discussion of the moment. When you ask anyone about crude, it's about duration. You tell me how long this will last, and I'll tell you what kind of impact this is going to have. That's the debate a lot of people are having.
And the problem with that debate is that it's wholly unknown at this point. How do you price that in? How do you understand how long it takes to achieve the president's goal, which is a changing of regime? This is not a regime that's placed as a pyramid where you take someone out at the top and there's not a lot of people waiting. It's concentric circles of leadership, be it military, be it security, be it economic or ideological. This is a complicated regime to have a true shift in it. And that makes it unknown of just how long the United States and Israel are willing to continue to make pain in that region and the Iranian regime to strike back.
So as you'd expect, some big moves at the index level for stocks. Beneath that, at the sector level, energy doing well. You'd guarantee that on a morning like this morning. Elsewhere, what are you seeing play out? You're seeing defence names start to rally aggressively. Elsewhere, the airlines. The airlines are getting beaten up for more reason than one. And I think what was notable over the weekend was just the amount of retaliation we saw beyond just Israel and the US and strategic targets, but to other Gulf nations as well. To hear Jemana Basechi in her coverage out of the region, the fact that she's still hearing sirens go off and bombs explode above her head, that's pretty shocking for a lot of people living in that region.
And by the way, it's a region that has worked very hard to try to appeal to foreigners. Foreigners, whether it be to come live there or foreign businesses to come in. What happens when that appearance of security and a stabilization is somewhat shattered? John, the other thing that I'm trying to get my head around this morning is the reaction in Israeli markets. I realize smaller, more local, but to have Israeli stocks trade at a record high, to have the shekel surge 2% versus the dollar, that seems to be pricing that maybe this is a 12-day war impact. Maybe this can come to a conclusion quite quickly. The different reaction of markets and just the degree to which we're willing to price and sustain conflict, it seems that we're not quite willing to go there yet.
As things stand, the president's talking about weeks and not days. Now, that can change, but that's as things stand. Equity futures so far this morning negative by 1% on the S&P. Coming up this hour, Peter Chair of Academy Securities as the U.S. conflict with Iran throws markets into chaos. The retired Colonel Joel Rayburn joins us as President Trump warns operations could last weeks. Plus, Stephen Schork of the Schork Group as oil prices jump the most in almost 4 years. We begin this out with stocks falling and Brent surging. Peter Chair of Academy Securities writing a change in regime rather than regime change in Iran could be more stable, bringing a group willing to work with Washington. Pete joins us now for more. Pete, good morning.
Good morning.
Pete, we are not there yet. So let's start with one market, energy, and let's start with crude, both WTI and Brent. You've got a spot price and then you've got to move further out along the curve. What are you seeing?
So I think the price action's reasonable right now. It's up a little bit. I think we priced in a lot. The way Saturday morning went, it was so good for the allies. Everything was going swimmingly. Now, as you pointed out, we're starting to see more attacks coming back. We're seeing some losses of troops, of equipment. So you have to price in a little bit more risk. I still ultimately think this calms down. We don't see a permanent disruption of the strait, and we can move on from here. So I'm actually constructive. I'd be taking energy markets lower probably from here. I want to, take some profits there. And that's kind of my view, is that we'll be calm and overall equities can rebound from here.
Help us identify the thing that you're looking at that tells you the volume will be turned down in the coming days.
I think, one, the sheer leadership at some level, right? And I think even Trump mentioned now almost a Venezuela 2.0 type thing, right? This is probably not going to be regime change. He himself has talked about that probably one of the biggest mistakes we made in Iraq was dismantling the entire regime, and it turned into chaos. So I think he is looking for someone to rise up within Iran who says, I want to be in power and I want to be alive in a few weeks. I want my family to be alive. How do we make some sort of deal? And I think at some point it's going to be hard to figure out who comes to the top, but there is a power vacuum, and I could easily see someone deciding, hey, I can grab some power and stay alive, and I think that's what I'm looking for.
Doesn't that make it more chaotic and not less? That Tehran this time is not. Tehran is not Caracas.
It is been chaotic. It's still chaotic. It's very unclear who's going to rise up and try and take advantage of that situation. But again, if you view the IRGC less as a military unit and more as a thuggish sort of oligarch type community, it seems more plausible that someone comes into that and says, hey, here's our chance to be leaders, to take control of the situation. We will play incredibly nice with the U.S., and maybe in 6 months or a year they go away and we can get back to what we need. But I need to survive. I mean, the fact that we have been so successful, and I think the things, when I go back, you look at what the U.S. and Israel have done, I think the
All right, so shortly from now, Hegseth is going to be speaking live from the Pentagon, so we'll do that in real time. They're due to start at 8 a.m., but they haven't started yet. I've been checking live, and that's what we're just waiting on. And then in an hour around 9 a.m., right, the stock markets will open up, and
Over the past 36 hours, the United States and its partners have launched Operation Epic Fury, one of the largest, most complex, most overwhelming military offensives the world has ever seen. Nobody's seen anything like it. We have hit hundreds of targets in Iran, including Revolutionary Guard facilities, Iranian air defense systems. Just now it was announced that we knocked out 9 ships plus their naval building, all in a matter of literally minutes. Iran's formerly supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, is dead. This wretched and vile man had the blood of hundreds and even thousands of Americans on his hands and was responsible for the slaughter of countless thousands of innocent people all across many countries. Last night, all over Iran, the voices of the Iranian people could be heard cheering and celebrating in the streets when his death was announced. The entire military command is gone as well, and many of them want to surrender into saving their lives. They want immunity. They're calling by the thousands. Combat operations continue at this time in full force, and they will continue until all of our objectives are achieved. We have very strong objectives. They could have done something 2 weeks ago, but they just couldn't get there. Earlier today, CENTCOM shared the news that 3 U.S. military service members have been killed in action. As one nation, we grieve for the true American patriots who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation, even as we continue the righteous mission for which they gave their lives. We pray for the full recovery of the wounded and send our immense love and eternal gratitude to the families of the fallen. And sadly, there will likely be more. Before it ends, that's the way it is. Likely be more, but we'll do everything possible where that won't be the case. But America will avenge their deaths and deliver the most punishing blow to the terrorists who have waged war against basically civilization. They have waged war against civilization itself. Our resolve, and likewise that of Israel, has never been stronger. America is now, again, the richest, most powerful nation in the world by far. But the only reason we enjoy the quality of life that we do and the freedom and security is we have done things that others are unable to do. But it's because of warriors who are willing to lay down their lives to do battle with our enemies. And they do battle better than anybody. An Iranian regime armed with long-range missiles and nuclear weapons would be a dire threat to every American. We cannot allow a nation that raises terrorist armies to possess such weapons that would allow them
to a nuclear bomb. It almost worked under Obama and his terrible deal, but not under this president. Turns out the regime who chanted death to America and death to Israel was gifted death from America and death from Israel. This is not a so-called regime change war, but the regime sure did change, and the world is better off for it. Today, in their desperation, the enemy is unmasked as Iranian missiles and drones rain down indiscriminately on the hotels, airports, apartments, and other civilian targets of their neighbors. Cowardly terrorist tactics from a regime that for decades has trafficked in cowardly terrorist tactics, lies, death, and destruction to this day. The Iranian leadership has built nothing except proxies and missiles and drones and deeply buried nuclear factories and facilities. Peaceful nuclear ambitions do not need to be buried underneath mountains. Last June, Operation Midnight Hammer obliterated their nuclear program to rubble. Afterward, we told them plainly, that's it, now make a deal. They arrogantly refused. We said, rebuild it, and we'll stop you again, this time far worse. Well, President Trump, Secretary Rubio, Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, they bent over backwards for real diplomacy, offering pathway after pathway to peace. I watched it. I was there. They tried over and over and over again earnest attempts at peace. The former regime had every chance to make a peaceful and sensible deal. But Tehran was not negotiating. They were stalling, buying time to reload their missile stockpiles and restart their nuclear ambitions. Their goal, hold us hostage, threatening to strike our forces. Well, President Trump doesn't play those games. And as Secretary Rubio said after the Maduro raid, if you don't know, now you know. President Trump puts America and Americans first. He doesn't hesitate, and neither do our troops. The mission of Operation Epic Fury is laser-focused. Destroy Iranian offensive missiles, destroy Iranian missile production, destroy their navy and other security infrastructure, and they will never have nuclear weapons. We're hitting them surgically, overwhelmingly, and unapologetically. With every passing day, our capabilities get stronger and Iran's get weaker. We set the terms of this war, from start to finish. Our ambitions are not utopian. They are realistic, scoped to our interests and the defense of our people and our allies. Speaking of people, we hope the Iranian people take advantage of this incredible opportunity. President Trump has been clear, now is your time. To Iranian security forces, choose wisely. President Trump has also been clear about your fate in either direction. To the media outlets and political left screaming endless wars, stop. This is not Iraq. This is not endless. I was there for both. Our generation knows better, and so does this president. He called the last 20 years of nation-building wars dumb, and he's right. This is the opposite. This operation is a clear, devastating, decisive mission. Destroy the missile threat, destroy the Navy, no nukes. Israel has clear missions as well, for which we are grateful. Capable partners, as we've said since the beginning, capable partners are good partners. Unlike so many of our traditional allies who wring their hands and clutch their pearls, hemming and hawing about the use of force. America, regardless of what so-called international institutions say, is unleashing the most lethal and precise air power campaign in history. B-2s, fighters, drones, missiles, and of course, classified effects. All on our terms, with maximum authorities. No stupid rules of engagement, no nation-building quagmire, no democracy-building exercise, no politically correct wars. We fight to win, and we don't waste time or lives. As the president warned, an effort of this scope will include casualties. War is hell, and always will be. A grateful nation honors the 4 Americans we have lost thus far and those injured. The absolute best of America. May we prosecute the remainder of this operation in a manner that honors them. No apologies, no hesitation, epic fury for them and the thousands of Americans before them, taken too soon by Iranian radicals. Before I turn it over to General Kane for the operational update, let me speak straight to you, the Joint Force, our warriors on the front lines. This is your moment. This is the generational turning point America has waited for since 1979, and since the rudderless wars of hubris my generation, our generation, endured. Don't listen to the noise. Just stay focused. Our commander-in-chief is steady at the wheel. We face a determined enemy, but you are better. But we must prove it every single day. History doesn't care if we're tired, if we're scared, or if the fight feels big. It demands warriors who rise anyway. Peace through strength, the warrior ethos, lethality, unity of purpose, those are not slogans. They're the beating heart of what it means to wear the uniform, that uniform. You think clearly under fire, you act decisively in chaos, you uphold the Constitution, and you uphold our country without hesitation. We are not defenders anymore. We are warriors, trained to kill the enemy and break their will. History is watching. Be the force you swore an oath to be, focused, disciplined, lethal, and unbreakable. We will finish this on America First conditions of President Trump's choosing. Nobody else's, as it should be. And know this above all, President Trump and I have your back, always. Through fire, through criticism, through fake news, through everything. We unleash you because you are the best, most powerful, most lethal fighting force the world has ever seen. May Almighty God watch over you and his providential arms of protection extend over you. Godspeed, warriors, and keep going. General Kane, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and good morning, everyone. The purpose of my portion of the briefing today is to update you and the American people on the actions taken thus far. The briefing will discuss the preparation, the planning, setting the force, the early operations, and how we're assessing the progress thus far. So let's get started. On Saturday, 28 February, at 01:15 Eastern Standard Time, 9:45 a.m. local Tehran time, on the orders of the President of the United States, U.S. Central Command, under the command of United States Navy Admiral Brad Cooper, commenced Operation Epic Fury. As I said, I'm going to walk you through the initial phases of the operation, but first I want to express my deep condolences and the condolences of the Joint Force to the Department of War personnel killed and wounded in actions thus far. As the Secretary said, they're heroes and represent the best of our nation has to offer. They're true examples of what selfless service means. Our deepest and heartfelt condolences are with their families, their friends, and their units. We grieve with you and we will never forget you. Additionally, I stand here before you today grateful for each service member, planner, logistician, operator across our Joint Force. For our Department of War civilians, our intelligence community teammates, our interagency teammates who continue to stand in harm's way alongside us. I am proud of all of you as you take the fight to the enemy, and we are the best in the world at integrating, period. I want to extend my personal gratitude to the dedicated commanders and senior enlisted leaders and the enlisted members of the Joint Force who are fighting this fight across the CENTCOM AOR. In addition to Admiral Cooper and Fleet Master Chief Compton, I want to highlight a few today. U.S. Army Central Command Commander Lieutenant General Pat Frank, who along with his team are fighting the counter-missile and counter-drone fight. United States Navy Central Command Commander Vice Admiral Kurt Renshaw and his team, who are engaged with the Iranian Navy and projecting American naval combat power from the seas. And United States Air Force Central Command Commander Lieutenant General Derek France and his leadership team, who are crushing Iranian targets from the air. I want to highlight the support to the CENTCOM fight from other combatant commands who are directly involved with this effort, to include U.S. Spacecom, U.S. Cybercom, and U.S. UCOM. I also want to specifically call out United States Transportation Command and U.S. STRATCOM for their contributions to this fight. We cannot project American combat power at the time and place of our choosing without both. And finally, I want to express how deeply thankful I am for the continued service and sacrifice of the entire Joint Force and their families. Their unwavering commitment and dedication are the cornerstones of this effort. So let me start with a few details. First, to be clear, as the Secretary said, this is not a single overnight operation. The military objectives that CENTCOM and the Joint Force have been tasked with will take some time to achieve, and in some cases will be difficult and gritty work. We expect to take additional losses, and as always, we will work to minimize U.S. losses. But as the Secretary said, this is major combat operations. So let me talk about the preparation and the planning. On February 28th, the full strength of America's armed forces came together in a unified purpose against a capable and determined adversary. The United States Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Air Force, Space Force, Coast Guard, and our reserve components integrated across our combatant commands and began coordinated operations with the Israeli armed forces of an unprecedented scale. As the Secretary laid out, our military objectives are clear. Our mission is to protect and defend ourselves and, together with our regional partners, prevent Iran from the ability to project power outside of its borders, and be ready for follow-on actions as appropriate. Across every domain, land, air, sea, cyber, the U.S. Joint Force delivered synchronized and layered effects designed to disrupt, degrade, deny, and destroy Iran's ability to conduct and sustain combat operations. On the U.S. side, this marked the culmination of months and in some cases years of deliberate planning and refinement against this particular target set. From precision strikes against key military infrastructure to persistent intelligence and targeting integration to the close coordination of the components across vast distances, this operation again demonstrated America's reach, readiness, and professionalism, and that of our joint united force. It was historic not only in the operational scope, but in the level of joint integration displayed across every element of the joint force. And as I said earlier, this work is just beginning and will continue. So now to talk a little bit about setting the force and setting the theater. On the order of the Secretary of War over the last 30 days to reinforce deterrence and provide the President with credible options should action be required, the Joint Force began to systematically reposition assets and personnel across the region. These movements ensured that U.S. forces remained postured, protected, and ready to respond decisively for any emerging threat. This deployment included thousands of service members from all branches, hundreds of advanced fourth and fifth generation fighters, dozens of refueling tankers, the Lincoln and Ford Carrier Strike Group and their embarked air wings, sustained flow of munitions, fuel, supplies, all supported with command and control, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance network. And the flow of forces continues today. In fact, Admiral Cooper will receive additional forces even today. This rapid buildup of forces demonstrated the Joint Forces' ability to adapt and project power at the time and place of our nation's choosing. I want to highlight a couple specific cases for you. The Gerald R. Ford Carrier Strike Group, which many of you know was down in the Western Hemisphere, redeployed across the Atlantic to set the theater. The ship, her crew, their families, and the entire strike group took a deep breath and, as they always do, began planning to conduct combat operations. The integrated reserve and National Guard forces have continued to demonstrate the value of America's reserve forces, including the Wisconsin Army National Guard operating in Kuwait and Iraq, and Air National Guard units from a variety of states to include Vermont and Virginia. In the case of the Vermont Air National Guard and the 158th Fighter Wing, they were mobilized for Operation Absolute Resolve and then were tasked to take their F-35As across the Atlantic instead of going home to be prepared to support this operation. The same is with our Air National Guard and Air Force Reserve Command tanker and mobility forces, who stepped right out of their civilian jobs to deploy and to protect the region. Lastly, I want to highlight the unsung heroes of warfare, our American logisticians and sustainment force, those who quietly work every day behind the scenes to project and sustain America's combat power. Our leaders from World War II were right when they said professionals do logistics. As regional tensions rose, the Joint Force elevated our force protection measures on the order of the Secretary and repositioned discreetly civilians and non-essential personnel designed to ensure the safety and security of our joint force. By the time operations began, only essential forces remained on our bases and in theater, all ready, capable to respond. So now let me move to H hour. At 3:38 p.m. on Friday, February 27th, the United States Central Command, through the Secretary of War, received the final go order from President Trump. The President directed, and I quote, "Operation Epic Fury is approved. No aborts. Good luck," close quote. In the region, every element of the Joint Force made their final preparations. Air defense batteries readied themselves, checking their systems to respond to Iranian attacks. Pilots and crews rehearsed their strike packages for the final time. Air crews began loading their final weapons, and 2 carrier strike groups began to move towards their launching points. Across the globe, our operations centers came alive in Tampa, Florida, here at the Pentagon, and of course forward in the Central Command AOR. As always, operational security was paramount as we sought to maintain and sustain the element of surprise. This operation was highly classified so that at H hour, the enemy would see one thing: speed, surprise, and violence of action. The first movers were U.S. Cybercom and U.S. Spacecom, layering non-kinetic effects, disrupting and degrading and blinding Iran's ability to see, communicate, and respond. At H hour, the beginning of major combat operations, 01:15 local Eastern Daylight Time, 9:45 local AM Tehran time, as dawn crept up across the Central Command AOR, the skies surged to life. More than 100 aircraft launched from land, sea, fighters, tankers, airborne early warning, electronic attack, bombers from the states, and unmanned platforms, forming a single synchronized wave. This was a daylight strike based on a trigger event conducted by the Israeli Defense Forces, enabled by the U.S. intelligence community. The first shooters at sea were Tomahawks unleashed by the United States Navy, closed in on Iranian naval forces, and began to conduct strikes across the southern flank in Iran. On the ground, forces fired precision standoff weapons, measured, deliberate, precise, and lethal. This was a massive, overwhelming attack across all domains of warfare, striking more than 1,000 targets in the first 24 hours. We are now roughly 57 hours into the operation. In the initial phase, CENTCOM's focus was systematic targeting of Iranians' command and control infrastructure, naval forces, ballistic missile sites, and intelligence infrastructure designed to daze and confuse them. Coordinated space and cyber operations effectively disrupted communications and sensor networks across the area of responsibility, leaving the adversary without the ability to see, coordinate, or respond effectively. The combined impact of these strikes, swift, precise, and overwhelming, has resulted in the establishment of local air superiority. This air superiority will not only enhance the protection of our forces, but also allow them to continue the work over Iran. Over the course of the last 2 days, the Joint Force has launched hundreds of missions from land and sea and delivered tens of thousands of pieces of ordnance. The effort continues to scale. This included American B-2 bombers, which again, similar to Midnight Hammer, flew a 37-hour round-trip sortie from the continental United States, dropping precision, penetrating munitions on Iranian underground facilities across the southern flank and slightly deeper. Additionally, Israel has separately executed hundreds of sorties against hundreds of targets. Beyond Air Force and Navy aircraft strike packages, coordinated salvos of precision standoff weapons from across the region have neutralized hundreds of pre-planned targets. As I mentioned earlier, in support of these kinetic operations, U.S. Cybercom and Spacecom have continuously layered effects to disrupt, disorient, and confuse the enemy. I will note that this operation had several combat firsts, which I'll allow at some point in the future Admiral Cooper to talk about since he owns the AOR. While we've prosecuted a relentless offensive campaign, our defense has been equally important. Across the theater, operations have remained steady and disciplined. Once again, our integrated air and missile defense network is performing exactly as it's intended. U.S. Patriot and THAAD batteries, along with ballistic missile defense-capable Navy destroyers, continue to coordinate and execute intercepts with precision and consistency. I wish that every American could hear the voice communications like I have as these joint operations centers remain calm, focused, and cool while executing under fire over and over again. Collectively, these systems have intercepted hundreds of ballistic missiles targeting U.S. forces, our partners, and regional stability. The threat from one-way attack UAVs has remained persistent. Our systems have proven effective in countering these platforms, engaging targets rapidly. Each intercept represents hundreds of hours of training, readiness, and technology all coming together to work as designed. We will remain vigilant in the counter-UAV fight. And the defense of the region is not ours alone. As the threat grew, our partners surged in beside us. Air defense batteries in Qatar, the UAE, Kuwait, Jordan, and Saudi Arabia joined the fight, proof positive that years of training, trust, and hard-earned integration pay off. I am aware of the loss of 3 U.S. Air Force F-15Es overnight in the region. I am grateful for the safety of the crews, and we know that this was not from hostile enemy fire. As this matter's under investigation, I'll not comment further on this. Let me close. Operations will remain active across the theater and across the globe. The U.S. forces are postured not only to maintain pressure, but to respond and adapt as required. Operation Epic Fury stands as a reminder of what the United States military uniquely delivers: the ability to project power on a global scale with speed, surprise, precision, and overwhelming force when and where our nation requires it. What we've demonstrated over the past several days reflects years of investment in readiness, joint integration, and professionalism of the Joint Force. As major combat operations continue across CENTCOM, we remain engaged globally. America's Joint Force retains the credibility, capacity, and flexibility to respond to any contingency anywhere in the world at any time. To those who would test our resolve or threaten the United States, our allies, or our interests, understand clearly we can reach you, we can sustain the fight, and we can scale the fight. We can reach you, we can sustain the fight, and we can scale the fight. We can reach you, we can sustain the fight, and we can scale the fight. We can reach you. We can sustain the fight, and we can scale the fight. We can reach you. We can reach you. We can reach you. We can reach you. We can reach you to stand as a member of America's joint force. There is no mission too complex, no distance too great, and no adversary too determined for the men and women who wear our nation's uniform. We mourn our fallen, we honor their families, and we continue our mission with focus, unity, and strength. And now I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Right here. Go ahead.
Thank you for your time. What percentage of Iranian long-strike capabilities are still in the fight, and what is our exit strategy here, and when will it be deployed?
Well, they have long-range strike capabilities, which we are hyper-focused on. The brief we got just this morning, Admiral Cooper knows exactly and precisely what kind of threat matrix he's looking at, the way they might change their techniques, and how we adapt to that. So we're making sure the theater commander has absolutely everything he needs. I mean, one of the things the chairman mentioned is for months and months, even before we built up, we ensured that we had maximum defensive capabilities in theater to allow the president the decision space in the future. So even before this buildup in the last 30 days, we discreetly brought defensive assets in to make sure, understanding that there are Iranian capabilities. As far as time frame, I would never hang a time frame from our perspective. The commander-in-chief sets the op tempo and terms of this fight. As I said, it's on his terms. And we'll make sure that Admiral Cooper and his team have everything they need, not just to defend. I mean, the best defense is good offense. And so we're aggressively pushing into that airspace over that southern flank to ensure that we control it and we destroy anything that moves that would attempt to shoot us. Think of it as shooting the archer instead of the arrows. That's where we want to be. And we have the kind of exquisite intelligence to get over the top, find that and destroy it. It won't happen overnight. This is a big battle space with a lot of capabilities. That's part of the reason why it's such a threat to us. That's why I talk about conventional umbrella to blackmail nuclear ambitions. They were building up this conventional arsenal in order to ensure that no one would ever block them from their ability to get nuclear weapons. So we're very clear-eyed about the nature of this Iranian threat, and we're going to get after it. I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for the question. The only thing I'll add is that unlike an operation, a single operation like Midnight Hammer or Absolute Resolve, it'll take some time for us to conduct battle damage assessment, and the targeting cycle that CENTCOM will run will take those things into effect. Admiral Cooper will adjust his plan and fires accordingly to ensure that we're attriting that. He's focused on long-range strike capability coming out of the enemy, and that's a key and essential part of it.
Of the capabilities that still exist from the enemy front?
Yeah, that's what I mean when I say we're still doing BDA. Normally we'd be able to see a singular thing and we'd assess pretty quickly. He's doing offense and assessment simultaneously, so it'll take longer for us to assess than it would in a single operation.
Secretary Hegseth, thank you. Reagan Reese with the Daily Caller. Two questions for you. The president said yesterday in his video message that we will leave Iran when we complete all of our objectives. What are our objectives? And can you share more information on how the soldiers who were killed were killed?
Well, I laid out the objectives, as did the chairman. They're completely nested. I mean, Iran has an ability to project power against us and our allies in ways that we can't tolerate. So whether that's ballistic missiles and drones, so offensive capabilities, effectively their Navy, which would attempt to set other terms and impose different costs, drone capabilities, which we laid out there. And ultimately, though, this tying it back to Midnight Hammer, the president has been willing to make a deal. You can't have a nuclear bomb. Radical Islamists can't have a nuclear bomb that they wield against the world. He gave them every single opportunity. Then we precisely took it away. And even then, after that, they didn't have that. They didn't come to the table with a willingness to give it away. So ultimately, those nuclear ambitions, which never ceased, are something that had to be addressed as well. So that's a discrete sense of what's being addressed here to ensure that they can't use that conventional umbrella to continue a pursuit of nuclear ambitions. And then as it pertains to the U.S. casualties, that particular incident was, you have air defenses and the lot's coming in and you hit most of it, and we absolutely do. We have incredible air defenders. Every once in a while you might have one, unfortunately we call it a squirter that makes its way through, and in that particular case it happened to hit a tactical operations center that was fortified, but these are powerful weapons. So we certainly will do, as I said, moments like that, as we remember them and we take care of them and take care of their families, only stiffen our resolve to ensure that we do this properly.
Thank you.
Yep. Right here.
Thank you, Secretary Hegseth. I had two questions for you. First, are there currently any American boots on the ground in Iran?
No, but we're not going to go into the exercise of what we will or will not do. I think it's one of those fallacies for a long time that this department or presidents or others should tell the American people this, and our enemies, by the way, here's exactly what we'll do. Here's exactly how long we'll go. Here's exactly how far we'll go. Here's what we're willing to do and not do. It's foolishness. And so President Trump ensures that our enemies understand we'll go as far as we need to go to advance American interests. But we're not dumb about it. You don't have to roll 200,000 people in there and stay for 20 years. We've proven that you can achieve objectives that advance American interests without being foolish about it. Now, will we be bold about it? Are we willing to be decisive about it? Do we put months and months of planning into what kind of effects we want to achieve? Absolutely. But going forward, why in the world would we tell you, the enemy, anybody, what we will or will not do in pursuit of an objective? We fight to win. We fight to achieve the objectives the President of the United States has laid out, and we will do so unapologetically. Thank you.
Is there any significance to Israel carrying out this strike to kill the Ayatollah? And I wanted to know, what was your immediate reaction to finding out about his killing?
I think Israel did a great job in the conduct of that operation.
President Trump put a 4-week
Here you go,
timeline
right
on
here.
it. Are you
Please.
saying that's wrong?
Yeah, thank you. You mentioned during the briefing, General Kane, that there would be additional troops sent to the region. Could you say how many troops currently are involved in this operation and how many additional troops are planned to go in this next phase?
I don't want to talk specifics because that would tip the enemy off. We have more tactical aviation flowing into theater just based on the time it took to get it out there. I think we're just about where we want to be in terms of total combat capacity and total combat power for Admiral Cooper. One of the things, though, that a commander, he'll consistently assess the trajectory of the campaign. Is he on or off trajectory? And then make an ask of the joint force, which will then develop options for consideration by the Secretary and the President to either increase or in some cases decrease the amount of combat capability that we have over there.
I heard the question about 4 weeks. It's the typical NBC sort of gotcha type question. President Trump has all the latitude in the world to talk about how long it may or may not take. 4 weeks, 2 weeks, 6 weeks. It could move up. It could move back. We're going to execute at his command the objectives we've set out to achieve. And what he has shown an ability to do that other presidents can't quite seem to have the aperture to do, well, I mean, Joe Biden didn't even know what he was doing, is to look for opportunities and off-ramps and escalations for the United States that creates new opportunities to execute what we need on our own timeline. So you can play games about 4 weeks, 5 weeks. He has all the latitude, and I'm glad he does, because there's no better communicator than our president expressing those things.
To the Daily Mail.
I've been in meetings with the president for the last 2.5 days. We know exactly where his headspace is, and he will communicate as he should exactly what he would like, and we will follow those orders. And I think everything he said on that is right down the middle.
Chairman, did you
Absolutely.
have
Yes, right there. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Secretary. I left my hometown of Sakis in Iranian Kurdistan in 1996. Can you promise that I will be able to return home safely this year? And I have a following question too, please.
I appreciate the question. I'm not here to place guarantees on that, but I think the message the president has given has been clear to the people of Iran. This is your moment. The world was seized by these crowds, and then seized by the reality of this regime killing tens of thousands of innocent protesters. So we saw the nature of the regime yet again exposed. We saw many of the Iranian people seek a change there. This is their moment to take advantage of it, for sure.
You served in Iraq and know that no American soldiers were killed in Kurdistan. The Kurdish people are very pro-American. Will you continue protect Kurdistan and Peshmerga as loyal ally of the United States? Why I'm asking this question? Because now Kurdistan is under attack by Iranian drones and by proxies in Iraq and on the region.
I think I can speak to allies generally in the region who we've been in constant communication with. We have been standing shoulder to shoulder with them, and we appreciate their capabilities. Absolutely. Yes, right here.
Hi, thank you. Cameron Arkin with the Daily Wire. My question is about some of the domestic threats, if any, regarding this right now. Have there been any concerns about Iranian sleeper cells, and kind of what has the Trump administration been doing to kind of monitor these
Well,
threats?
across the interagency, in full coordination, of course, we're paying attention to any potentialities there. This is a former regime, a regime that seeks to export that ideology and try to sow terror. We're ready for that. We've seen these types of folks before, and the American people can rest assured that we're vigilant on that.
Right here. Secretary, thank you. Kind of a follow up on that last question. There was just this, what appears to be a terrorist attack in Austin yesterday. How does that change the operation at all? What effect does that have? And
It doesn't change the operation at all, and I know the authorities are executing exactly the way they should.
Secretary Higseth, and one for Chairman Kane as well. I understand, to your point here, that you don't want to broadcast everything for our adversaries to hear, but the American people also want to know what they're sending their men and women to war for. Is there a concern of this spiraling into a longer war? And then one for the chairman when you're done.
Did you not hear my remarks? I mean, we're ensuring the mission gets accomplished, but we are very clear-eyed, as the president has been, unlike other presidents, about the foolish policies of the past that recklessly pulled us in to things that were not tethered to actual clear objectives. So we know. We have plans, we have generals, we have chairmen, we have commanders, CENTCOM commanders, Admiral Cooper, who's executing very deliberately to ensure outcomes that I laid out are accomplished. But we would never, in front of a press pool, lay out how long that may take. The mission for our warfighters, which is what matters to us, is very, very clear. And they're executing it right now violently.
And just for the chairman quickly, I have one for the chairman. You said this is not a one-night operation. It will take time to achieve the goals. What would be the goal line here for you?
I think the Secretary laid out the military objectives, and that's what we execute against, is the military objectives.
Last one right here.
Uranium is. Thank you, sir. As you've said, there are a large amount of U.S. service members that are in harm's way right now. What is your prayer for them?
First of all, my prayer for them is that I do pray for them. My wife prays for them. Our family prays for them. Our cabinet prays for them. None of this is done on a whim. Having been in their boots, having been in their shoes. Well, good morning. 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 Simply for the biblical wisdom to see what is right and the courage to do it. It's going to take courage to follow through on this. There's going to be a lot of noise, and we pray for that, and we hope all of you do as well. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Going to strike first.
We correct wars. We fight to win, and we don't waste.
All right, y'all still there? I don't know what that was. Started glitching. Thank you. At my baby boy, so funny. Thank you for the gift. So something came through the gift support button there. Thank you. I appreciate that. We're getting gifts here and there on these streams. Appreciate it. So that was the Pentagon Live with Hegseth. Let me just make sure it looks like it's done. Yeah.
The generational turning point America has waited for since 1979, and since the rudderless wars of hubris, my in Afghanistan, funded and armed by Iranian Quds Force and IRGC killers. My generation of veterans carry the names of brothers who never came home. Brothers butchered by Iranian-backed roadside bombs and well-armed militias, thousands of our own. We didn't start this war, but under President Trump, we are finishing it. Their war on Americans has become our retribution against their Ayatollah and his death cult. It took the 47th president, a fighter who always puts America first, to finally draw the line after 47 years.
I didn't know I was muted. All right. That was from X7. That was live from the Pentagon. Not a whole lot of information coming from him. He's just reassuring everyone that Trump knows what he's doing. You know, he will speak when he's ready to. So I think they're kind of pushing to just hear more from President Trump, but he's letting them know, like, nah, he talk to y'all when he feel like talking to y'all. So that's what we got there. Coming up, like I mentioned, because the title for the stream is mainly about economics. It's about finances. How is the war affecting our stock market, which will be opening in about 11 minutes. So we'll see some of the changes. I know there's going to be a lot of dramatic changes with that. Whether you're into stocks or not, it does affect our finances worldly. Okay, so I'm going to get into that right now too. Bloomberg has been keeping us all the way up to date on what's going on, and from financial analytical standpoints, and we can dive in that. Where are we? Yeah, salute to all the vets. I hope nobody's doing stolen valor. That's a crime. Stolen valor. That's the way you say it. Robin and a pissed off vet been going back and forth a lot for the past hour. I don't know really what y'all arguing about, but yeah. I just say, avoid the name calling. I know you want to express yourself, but we want to make sure everyone does feel heard and they don't feel like, you know what I'm saying, they're being jumped on. Just don't want to. I don't encourage that. I do have a protection. I'm protective over our military. I've always been like that. So I was going to be in the Navy myself. Um, but yeah, so that was from Hegseth, and then we'll just see what's going on here. All right, looks like it's on mute. State. Okay, so I'm gonna get it back in just a moment. So, you have any afterthoughts after hearing from our American Secretary of War? Remember, they changed the name from War. I mean, it wasn't war; it was just U.S. military. And then Trump was like, "Nah, we secretaries of war. We defense. Wait, war defense." All right. If Ilhan Omar is not charged and deported, I may wear a MAGA hat. You said is not charged. If she need to be charged, she gonna be charged. Sorry to hurt your feelings on Omar. Ilhan. I like her fight and her strife. I like how strong she is as a politician. And I look for that in people. I don't look for you to just get a check and then you just run your mouth and go viral like Jasmine does. She's she's there. A lot of times she's on camera not holding a camera, but just doing her thing. So I really respect that about her, whether I agree with her or not. You know, I agree with some of what she says, and some of it is like, nah, you part of the reason we have these issues with so many illegal immigrants and stuff in here. I can't stand by that. So it's not just how strong you are as a fighter, it's what are you fighting for. So, but I don't think she would be able to be deported. I mean, even though they said that, I've said too, people that get in the way, we be done sent y'all up out of here too. I'm just being honest. If I was part of this team, people that are for it, you really be pissed because I ain't having it. Get in the way, I'm gonna deport you too. You be like, but I'm from America. I don't give a damn. You don't get in the way of American law. I can ship you somewhere too. As Americans, we can't break the law. So why I'm gonna watch you come up in here and do what you feel like doing? Nah, you're gonna march right back to where you came from. And everyone has a genealogical location where they actually really come from. Don't make me do a DNA test on you and find out where your ancestors from. I'm gonna send you right back there. Wherever it don't say America, I'm gonna send you there. Don't get in the way. All these problems going on. You got people wanting to get in the way. Nah, you gonna get deported too. Then y'all really be mad, huh? Yeah, right. Better get this illegal crap up out of here. There's too many Americans that want to commit crimes. Y'all getting in the way. We'll sit back and let them do what they want to do. If you don't get out of here, please. So the market will be opening up in probably about 6 more minutes. Ooh, they're already showing something. Oh yeah, today is March 2nd, isn't it? Ooh, we might got a sneak peek, y'all. Let's go. Let's go. Stop. No, I was doing something and now, I wish I didn't do it. Get out of here. Damn. Now I can't get it off the screen. Oh, there we go. S&P futures negative 1%, Dow futures negative 1%, NASDAQ futures negative 1.3%. But you see, it says right here, now it says 8:41. So they just captured this 10 minutes ago. Honestly, it looks like we're getting a sneak peek at some of this. Who's putting this up? Sandmark? I'm not familiar with them, y'all. I don't know. I want to know. I'm clicking on it. Yeah, Yahoo is good. Yahoo Finances has been around. This is one of the longest ones. Oldest ones is Yahoo. 8 mini S&P Global. Okay. Kiana James wardrobe malfunction during the WWE. What that got to do with the stocks? The stocks went up or down after the wardrobe malfunction. We got wrestling watchers in here in the chat. I like all kind of sports. I don't watch it much, but I just like what the human body can do. So I'm for all sports. Okay. Yeah, they're giving us a little taste. Let's go.
Be it the most wealthy being the ones who are driving this consumer economy, if this also has the impact of an equity market sell-off, if bond yields move higher, which the equity market is dependent on, if commodity prices go up, which in turn pushes up the bond market, do you get that uneasy feedback loop that has an impact on the American economy, even though that this is a conflict happening far away from the U.S.?
We have called this several times the longest first quarter ever. There is still one more month to go. Coming up tomorrow, we'll catch up with Chris Ferrone of Strategas, Torsten Slock of Apollo, Mark Hafley of UBS Global Wealth Management, Julie Beale of Kane Anderson Rudnick. Plus, before we get there, this later, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, Bramo catching up with the JP Morgan Chase chairman and CEO, Jamie Dimon. Look out for that later on this afternoon. From New York City this morning, good morning. Looking forward to tracking a very real developing story in the Middle East with you throughout the week. From New York City, this was Bloomberg Surveillance.
Bringing you up to the minute global news whenever and wherever it happens. I'm Anne-Marie Hordern in Davos, Switzerland, and this is Bloomberg.
When the game moves, move with it. Buy or sell your predictions live, all game long.
How much? I can do this.
No commercials. All right. I want to get to back to Al Jazeera, get some commentary on the Pentagon just after they went live just now. Pete Hegseth and a couple others. Just check on the data. Again, I'm Kai Y7. Thanks for coming.
So the political side, the constitutional side, and the military side.
Hassan Ahmadian, you're in Tehran. What do you want to add on your end on who's calling the shots? Because at the end of the day, Rasul did a great job of explaining there are multiple power centers. But at the end of the day right now, there is a group of people, which I expect is a small group of people, but correct me if I'm wrong, a group of people that is making decisions that will commit Iran in this war to, a certain future, right? And there's a group of people that are deciding what to target, who to target, and how to conduct this war.
Well, I think basically it's the Supreme National Security Council that is calling the main shots at this point. All what Rasul has described, all the power centers have representatives there. The figure that is heading that is Mr. Ali Larijani, as Rasul explained. He is in a very central position at this point. Of course, the interim council of leadership will have a final say over what the National Security Council decides, but strategic decisions traditionally have been made and formed within that Supreme National Security Council and then brought to the leadership before this, the Supreme Leader, now the leadership, to ratify it. And I think that institutionalized mechanism is very much intact despite the initial attack that assassinated many commanders and the Supreme Leader.
Hassan Ahmadian from Tehran, Rasul Serdar joining us in the studio this hour. Thank you very much to both of you. It is now 13 GMT. I'm Cyril Vanier.
All right, let's get this audio together because now we're getting to the direct information on stocks. things like that with our exchange,
Out,
our money.
and we did see a little bit of a bump up in Bitcoin, but then it has come down, and over the intraday session is trading a little bit lower at the moment after earlier rising. So those are some of the assets that we're watching. Now let's talk about the broader situation. Joining us for more is Yahoo Finance Washington correspondent Ben Werschel. Yahoo Finance's Jake Conley with me as well. Jake really looking at the oil side of the equation, Ben looking at the view from Washington. So Ben, let's start with you. We heard from War Secretary Pete Hegseth in the last hour. Did we learn anything new as a result of his comments?
Yeah, we learned some new things from Secretary Hegseth this morning. The first is that he did confirm, I think it's notable, he confirmed that Iran still has long strike capabilities. So this is an ongoing conflict. There, you know, the message from the secretary was about the success of the U.S. mission, but it also underlined that this is not over yet. As he described, this is not going to end overnight to eradicate, as he put it, the Iran's missile facilities and drone facilities. So this is an ongoing operation and comes as the overall conflict is clearly broadening across the region, as you put in at the beginning here. This is we just in the last few minutes, Israel confirmed it's launching new attacks in Lebanon around Hezbollah's attacks there. So that's another theater of this war. We've seen theaters from the Strait of Hormuz to the United Arab Emirates to, and of course, to Iran itself. Other things from Pete Hegseth that we saw this morning is the timeline here. I think that's going to be a big question that we're going to be talking about throughout this whole week. Trump over the weekend has talked about a 4 to 5 week timeline of this conflict. Hegseth made clear this could be movable. He talked about a 2-week timeline. He talked about a 6-week timeline. So this is a lot of uncertainty on exactly what this operation is how long it's going to last. And also, I think there's some ongoing questions about the goal here. Hegseth, for his part, was focused on the military assets here. He talked about how this is about eliminating Iran's nuclear capabilities. He described the kind of political and economic consequences as a kind of almost a sort of secondary concern for him, at least. He said, this is a regime change. This is not a regime change war, but the regime did change. That's how he formulated it. This comes as Trump has offered a variety of perspectives on how he.
And a lot of people wanted to know if there was going to be an actual regime change. And a lot of people were saying it's probably not. Don't get too excited because someone has been assassinated, because you still are looking for an actual change in their policies and their leadership, which could continue just with a different leader, even though you took out a bunch of them, you know, so that's what's going on with that. So what we were doing today was talking about the finances, how the war is affecting our pockets. We watched Hegseth live. I'll show some of those highlights right now, and then I'll wrap up my commentary on today and see what we can see on the stock market specifically. I wanted us to be able to look at
bombs in Iraq and Afghanistan, funded and armed by Iranian Quds Force and IRGC killers. My generation of veterans carry the names of brothers who never came home. Brothers butchered by Iranian-backed roadside bombs and well-armed militias, thousands of our own. We didn't start this war, but under President Trump, we are finishing it. Their war on Americans has become our retribution against their Ayatollah and his death cult. It took the 47th president, a fighter who always puts America first, to finally draw the line after 47 years of Iranian belligerence. He reminded the world, as he has time and time again, being an American means something unbreakable. If you kill Americans, if you threaten Americans anywhere on earth, we will hunt you down without apology and without hesitation, and we will kill you. President Trump has also been very consistent. Crazy regimes like Iran, hell-bent on prophetic Islamist delusions, cannot have nuclear weapons. It's common sense. Many have said it, but it takes guts to actually enforce it, and our president has guts. Iran's stubborn and self-evident nuclear pursuits, their targeting of global shipping lanes, and their swelling arsenal of ballistic missiles and killer drones are no longer tolerable risks. Iran was building powerful missiles and drones to create a conventional shield for their nuclear blackmail ambitions. Let me say that again. A conventional shield for their nuclear blackmail ambitions. our bases, our people, our allies, all in their crosshairs. Iran had a conventional gun to our head as they tried to lie their way to a nuclear bomb. It almost worked under Obama and his terrible deal, but not under this president. Turns out the regime who chanted death to America and death to Israel was gifted death from America and death from Israel. This is not a so-called regime change war, but the regime sure did change, and the world is better off for it. Today, in their desperation, the enemy is unmasked as Iranian missiles and drones rain down indiscriminately on the hotels, airports, apartments, and other civilian targets of their neighbors. Cowardly terrorist tactics from a regime that for decades has trafficked in cowardly terrorist tactics, lies, death, and destruction to this day. The Iranian leadership has built nothing.
All right, y'all, I think we'll wrap it up there. Thanks for coming through, everyone that came through. Just appreciate the respectable back and forth. Believe it or not, it's dialogue. So sometimes you feel a little better getting things off your chest. Just try not to be too negative, because whatever you put out is going to come back to ya. Don't matter who you are. I'm Kai Y7. Hope to see or feel y'all back. I know a lot of people are quiet, but there was thousands of y'all that came through, but only 50 of y'all hit like. So shout out to the 50 so of y'all that hit like. You will be receiving things that are likable back to you. That's how I do. I put that out in the universe for you. You'll see. I talk mostly things to do with the inner communities, our energies with each other. Some consider it spiritual. That's how I look at it. Also, I have segments where I talk about astrals, has to do with astronomy and astrology, and just our relations, how we, relate with one another. Mostly those type of things. But here I wanted to just zoom in on the stock market, how that's going to be flaming all over the place. But stay encouraged, because there's still money to be made if that's what you want to do through stocks. Just keep an eye out. Our oil is going to be, our transportation is being stopped and blocked. So there's just a lot going on, but Bloomberg, Yahoo Finance, those are some places that want to keep you in the know. So at least you have the best idea of what's going on for you to be encouraged or not encouraged, to invest. That's up to you, but you're still entitled to the information. Tap in sometime. Tap in. All our money is in there, whether you invest or not. They're using our money that are consumers. All of us are consumers. We're all customers of someone, right? So your money in there anyway. Check it out and see how you can make some money right along with them. It can absolutely be done. So that's what we're looking at. NASDAQ and all of that looks like it's down, which is to be expected. I wanted to see a screen where we could just really kind of see some more of what's going on before.
Lori from RBC this morning, who kind of nailed down the head. We need to be patient, but again, these are greater headwinds, and now the Fed has to be more patient.
Lori was also really great in all those studies, those historical studies and conflicts you should buy the dip, saying that most of them were based on short-term conflicts, that if you look at large-scale wars, most of them ended with stocks lower over the next 12 months.
No. But isn't this, Michael, I mean, the thought from markets is that you can use Venezuela, and I heard you talking about this with John on surveillance this morning as well. You can use Venezuela to some extent as a roadmap or a playbook.
That's what Trump wants to do.
Exactly.
So I think what the markets got spooked by a little more was that we took out too many of the leaders.
See, and that shows to stay hopeful. The stocks are going to go back up, y'all. So it's up to you. I personally am going to look into buying some of the stocks while they low. You know what I mean? Certain ones. And then I'm going to watch them grow back up. I'm going to be patient. That's all to it. You can keep spending money as a consumer, or you can spend money and watch your money grow. Let that money grow. Use that money to be a consumer. Use that money to buy products from certain companies. Money that you made on the side through investments, So you could do it. You could definitely do it. So I'm here to encourage. I don't discourage, unless that's necessary. So hopefully I get where I'm going with it, and do what you need to do, man. I know a lot of war and a lot of other stuff going on. You got to take time out and make sure you're at peace with yourself. Nobody else can bring you peace. They can disrupt your peace. You gotta stay at peace. Don't matter what's going on around you. You gotta stay at peace and you'll stay protected. So I hope all y'all have a good day, good evening, good night, whatever time zone you're in. Someone came through early this morning. I've been on since 4 a.m. Eastern. It's what, 9:13 a.m. Because I just was amped to see what's going on with the stocks and whatnot, and see what y'all up to and how y'all doing. So I appreciate y'all. And again, thank you to someone sent a gift. Where we at? Their handle name is at my baby boy. So funny. Thank you for the gift that you sent through the gift button there on the screen. All right, thanks. And those of y'all that hit like you back. Thank you. Consider subscribing to the channel. It's an open chat room. I just ask people to be respectful and as you can, that helps. And also express yourself. So that's encouraged here. Yeah, that'll be it. That'll be it. And oh, and music, spiritual things I like to get into on here, community based, and some things have to do with our intimacy. Those are like my main things here. Okay. All right. This was big news that affects us. They're still talking about the jets. They shot down a few of the U.S. jets. I don't think we have any casualties, though. I've heard that. And yeah, we're moving right along. We're moving right along. You're gonna see all kind of headlines lying just to get you to click on it. I get all the news right here. I go to the certain sources. I do it quickly. Give commentary on it. Recap. Certain exclusive things happen while I'm live. I get right to it. You don't get no better than that. I don't have to lie. I'm not going to fearmonger. Just like to try to get this truth. You gotta get this truth. You found me. I found you. That's what's up. This with me is it's not much of a coincidence. It's meant to be. So we all come from different walks of life, but we're the ones that come together and going to make the difference to solve today's problems. And that's part of why I'm here. Part of life's purpose. I thank y'all for spending some time here on my channel. And I hope you have a great day and night and hope you come back. Oh, before I go, I did put a poll in the chat. Got 599 votes, almost 600. It probably will hit 600 while I'm talking. My question in the chat says, is Israel/US versus Iran war worth the debt? So I'm saying worth the debt, the money debt that it will cause. So you're almost split down the middle. But most of y'all said no, it's not worth the financial debt. So 53% of y'all said no, and 47% of y'all said yes. So like most of the things that are doing with politics, we're pretty much divided. There's always yeses and then there's always nos, and they're almost the same. They're almost the same. You'll barely see 80% to 90% agreeing on anything. We just have different outlooks. So feel free to bring your views, your visions here to discuss, and it's appreciated. Yeah. So all right, I'm Kyan Y7, and hope you all have a good day. And I always want to leave you better than you came in some kind of way. Some kind of way. I hope that for y'all. All right. Thank you. Peace.
Damn, what was that? Y7.
Y'all still in a chat arguing? What's going on, Robin girl? In a pissed off vet. Maybe y'all come back and finish arguing. You know what would be funny? Sometimes people that be arguing, y'all end up being cool. You having a lot of exchange of energy. Y'all putting a lot of energy into each other for some reason. You're drawn to each other. I would have been stopped an hour ago. And you find out y'all like each other. You know, when you be in class with the kids, like, yeah, y'all might really like each other. Then that make the kids real mad. No, I don't. Yeah, right. We'll see y'all come back, see how y'all are with each other when y'all come back through. Y'all something else. Oh goodness, y'all wilding out still. Well, I think y'all hopefully y'all still had a little fun and got informed. That's what matters too, right? All right. Well, I'll see y'all next time. All right. Um, maybe not to I may do a couple weekdays, but I do come on in the wee hours. So it's a good time for some of us. So yeah, so I'll see y'all another time. And Sundays or Saturdays I do, and I'm gonna be working on some things for that. Universal topics too, and then some that are concentrated. But all right, y'all, thanks for coming through. It's been real. Peace.